So this is going to be a stream where I sit down and talk about something that just hit. This is brand new Xbox news. We were hearing rumblings about this for a while, that Microsoft was really pushing for margins at the company that were not even reasonable at all, and the concern was it was going to lead to bad things for Xbox. And this is in the wake of many of us predicting that this sort of thing would happen after the Xbox Activision deal, which is why I'm essentially arguing that the ABK deal has backfired. If you cheered for it, if you were excited for it, this is what you get when a company the size of Microsoft spends $70 billion. You get an increase in scrutiny. You get an increase in ruthlessness with respect to the bottom line and profit, and that is what we are now sitting in. There are likely more studio closures coming, more canceled projects coming. What we're about to read from Bloomberg, Jason Schreier of Bloomberg has basically given us the rundown of what has been going on and why this is happening. And really what this is not just chickens coming home to roost. This is more like velociraptors coming home to roost, because this is going to be, I think, a pretty significant thing for Xbox's future with respect to studios as well as projects, because all they really want at this point are high margins. Anything low margins off the table. It's why you have a studio behind Hi-Fi Rush get canceled, even though it was hailed as a success, because that, I think, in general, is how Microsoft is looking at things. They're going to want just those high margin returns. Anything that's not doing that is in jeopardy. So if there's any games that you're looking forward to right now that don't have concrete release dates, I would temper your expectations and be prepared for the worst. This is not doom and gloom. This is the result of an unprecedented acquisition that many of us were against and warned against, and yet it was turned into weird console tribalism and name calling. And now that everything is landing, everybody wants to sort of brush it aside and say that, well, nobody could see this coming, or you're just doing Xbox doom and gloom, you're just console warring. No, many of us were with Xbox up to this point. I started with the 360 and built a library there, and with Xbox One. I came back to Xbox from PC because of all the promises they made for Xbox with Project Scarlet. I really thought they were going to deliver the greatness of what I was enjoying on PC, which was higher performing games. And what I got was a bill of goods. I got a Series X that they never really did anything with of any significance. And then I got a bunch of acquisitions that really didn't do anything. Nothing additive to the market, just bringing games to the market that were already in development, and then canceling games that were plans to come to the market. I may even go back and watch some of my videos from last year that were quite prophetic. In May of last year, I said Microsoft killed Xbox. We're in the era of Microsoft gaming now. That is essentially where we are, and I don't think it's going to get any better. It's probably going to get worse before it gets better, because as a publisher, that is their own goal. That is their main focal point, is ROI. So with that very brief intro out of the way, do me a favor, those of you that are here in the live environment, smash that like button. This is a new stream. We're coming from Kirby Air Riders Direct. So make sure and smash that, and you guys can help us with our goal for the week. I'm sure Madam will have thoughts about this. A new Friday night segment that we launched, it's called Gaming News Tonight. My wife reacts to gaming news on Friday nights when you guys unlock that feature. Everybody seemed to really love that last week, and then we will continue our gameplay of Dead Take. So if you're watching this later, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and make sure you are a member. Members, right now, submit your questions. The question queue is wide open. Only members can submit questions that we will get to whenever I'm done kind of giving my thoughts on this article. So Bloomberg here says, Microsoft pushes Xbox division to hit higher profit margins. Management's goal of 30% profit margins for gaming has led to job losses, canceled projects. Now, keep in mind, that's just now. Sneakers SO already leaked that there would be more coming in the first quarter of 2026. There will be more closures and layoffs, more than likely. And single gifted coming in from Stone Spire Thank you so much. Let me get this going here. That's a Han shot first, and so did you if I've ever seen one. Boom. And we are now at 329. He's going to do 2. I knew what he was going to do. He's trying to bait a 20 bomb. Let's start the day strong, and he wants somebody to drop that 20 bomb. Whoever hits it gets it. And somebody says, great shirt. This is an oldie but a goodie, isn't it? I thought this was such a good-looking shirt. I had to pull it out of the closet today because, you know, why the heck not? I didn't know this was going to happen with Xbox. My old brand has nothing to do with that. So let's continue reading this article from Jason Schreier here of Bloomberg. All right. Microsoft Corp is asking Xbox Gaming Division to produce profit margins that are well above the industry average, ratcheting up pressure on its video game makers during a difficult time for the field at large. Over the past 2 years, executives at the Seattle-based software giant have set an across-the-board goal of 30% accountability margins. That's what they're calling them. This is hilarious, by the way. To be this out of step with profit margins in the industry average and to call them accountability margins is funny. And a single gift that comes in from Rissick, and he says that it's going to be an agent of chaos if somebody drops a 20 bomb. Thank you so much. This is a term Microsoft uses in lieu of profit margins, according to people familiar with the business. In this reads like a comedy to me. So they use accountability margins in lieu of profit margins. Why? Just cut the crap and call it what it is. The gaming division, which includes dozens of studios, has responded by canceling products, raising prices, and slashing thousands of jobs, said the people who asked not to be identified, discussing non-public information. The average profit margin in the video game industry in recent years has ranged between 17 and 22%, according to estimates from S&P Global Market Intelligence, which coming in between 10 and 20% over the past 6 years at Xbox. Court documents from 2023 revealed that Microsoft's gaming business had a 12% profit margin for the first 9 months of the company's 2022 fiscal year. So, I don't know. You shouldn't be getting those. Let me pause that, Wilbur. Sorry about that. I had it paused. You should not be getting those. Make sure you guys are smashing the like button. I'm pausing that thing that nobody likes. So that's a great reason to hit the like button. Okay, so they were at 12%. And this was like one of their first times where I feel like they were posting numbers like that. And everybody's kind of celebrating that. And they were at 12%. So keep that in mind. The new goal, which hasn't been previously reported, is at the outer range of what gaming studios can typically reach in a boom year, said Neil Barber, an analyst with S&P Global. This is what Barber says. A 30% or better margin is usually reserved for a publisher that is really nailing it. And another member comes in. Thank you so much. We're now at 332. PWH-Town says, Phil is hiding while Sarah is taking all the shots, as these are her decisions, is super nasty. Oh, as if these are her decisions. I seen this coming when they promoted her, though. I mean, I think they're trying to soften the blow, right? She's new. She's younger than Phil. She's pretty. Like, I think they're trying to soften the blow of all this bad news by having her out there on the front lines. I mean, at least that's how it feels to me. In the past, game makers at Xbox were not asked to hit specific numerical targets, said the people, and were largely told to focus on making the best games possible without worrying too much about finances. The new target was implemented in the fall of 2023 by Microsoft's Chief Financial Officer, Amy Hood, whose team has taken a larger role in the gaming business in recent years. So this is the part of the sentence that's actually the more scary part, okay? If she steps into this role, or she's been in the role or whatever, but if she steps in and says, we need 30% now, oh, and by the way, her team has taken a larger role in the gaming business in recent years, this is a direct result of ABK. And this is what so many of us warned about. We said, listen, Microsoft is not going to write a check of that size and not ask to be paid. You got to pay the piper. They are not going to just stand by and let you do exclusives and things like that. The Xbox Activision deal is literally the spark that caused all of this. That's where it comes from. That's the beginning of it. This is why, if you go back, so when I covered this, I said there was clearly a shift in strategy, because when they bought ZeniMax, Phil was like, this is all about putting exclusives where Game Pass lives. So his mindset on ZeniMax is like, yeah, we're giving you exclusives. They buy ABK, they buy Activision Blizzard King, and all of a sudden that all goes out the window. The whole thing shifts into, well, we're a software company now. We're putting games everywhere now. You got Satya saying we can now do the thing we've always wanted to do. When he says that, he's talking about himself, by the way. That's what he's always wanted to do. Satya doesn't like the idea of exclusives. And now you got Sarah Bond saying exclusives are antiquated, while, Nintendo exclusives and PlayStation's exclusives will climb, the gaming charts. Like, they seemingly do just fine, even though they're allegedly antiquated. She's just mimicking what Satya said years ago, and Satya got his way. So when he says we can now do the thing we've always wanted to do, he's talking about himself. That is something that Satya has wanted to do with the company for a while. And I got a $5 super chat from the Gaming Ledger. The average Microsoft product has a 37% net profit margin. Xbox is taking opportunity cost if it isn't able to hold its weight. Writing is on the wall. Thank you for the super chat. Guys, thank you for being here. As you come in, hit that like button and buckle up. It's going to probably end up being a pretty spicy day because, listen, I'm allowed to say I told you so a couple of times today because I freaking told you so. I knew this is where we were going to head. I saw this coming from a mile away, and folks called me a pony and said I was a grifter and a console warrior. Well, yeah, now what do you have to say for yourselves as you cheered for an ABK deal because you thought it was going to deliver you to the promised land, and all it's doing is delivering games and studios to the dumpster bin. This is where we are, and a lot of you cheered for it, and I think you should own that. I really think you should own that. I think more and more people should own that they got this wrong. The Activision deal brought us here. All roads lead here from the ABK deal. The change has impacted strategies under Microsoft Gaming chief Phil Spencer as the division has looked for new ways to cut costs and boost profits. In 2024, Xbox announced that it would begin releasing the majority of its games on console rivals Nintendo, Sony for the first time. Nintendo and Sony for the first time. Earlier this year, Xbox decided to cancel a number of costly projects, including Everwild, Perfect Dark, and Project Blackbird, all of which had been in development for more than 7 years. Not every project is expected to hit the 30% profit threshold, said the people, but many Xbox developers and groups have been presented with the new target. I got to tell you, this paragraph makes my blood boil because do you want to know why a lot of these games have been in development for so long? Do you want to know why? A lot of these games have been developed for a really, really long time because of Microsoft. Microsoft is one of the reasons that the studios that they own struggle to get games to the market. This is such a self-fulfilling prophecy with their absolute garbage contract policy and the way they treated 343 and the way they treated Halo Infinite. Do you really expect anything to flourish under that? Do you expect anything to come to the market in a timely manner when that's your setup? This is so irritating as a consumer because you see titles that could have been amazing set up to fail, and then when they fail, Microsoft's just standing there with the guillotine just waiting to pull the lever. And it's like, you literally put them on this path. You put them on this path. You set them up to fail. So we've got other games right now that have been in development for a really long time that could be on a slow march to the guillotine. Because Microsoft doesn't understand creative process. They don't understand games. They don't. They understand utilitarian software. They understand how to make tools. They don't get creative process in gaming. I've said for the longest time, Microsoft is acidic to creative process. And they're going to set all these studios and games up to fail, and they're going to be like, you didn't make enough money, or you took too long to come to market, floop, and they're going to pull the guillotine down. Sneakers SO has already said first quarter of 2026, we're going to see more layoffs and more studio closures, and we're seeing right here why. We're seeing right here why this is happening. Phil Spencer needs sacked. This has nothing to do with Phil Spencer. This is a Microsoft thing. It's been a Microsoft problem for a long time. Thank you, Ika Gang, for 22 months. Thanks for jumping back in. It's all coming to a head, and we tried to tell them, says Mr. Grimm. When you try to help someone, but they refuse that, that's on them. You guys remember, I said for a very, very long time, I said, listen, I said, you guys cheering for the Xbox Activision deal. I was like, I'm on your side, and you're spitting in my face. My coverage of the Xbox Activision deal was on the side of the consumer. It was on the side of the developer, and people could not see past, well, you just want to cheer for Sony. They couldn't see past that. And it's like, what in the world? No one's cheering for Sony or worried about Sony. Sony had every right to be concerned about their own profit margins and revenue and what this could potentially do to the market. And surprise, surprise, you put all those, crying emojis on and tears on Jim Ryan's face on your thumbnails. Jim Ryan literally told you what was going to happen in the wake of this Activision deal. He said, you're going to see talent loss. You're going to see massive problems. And now it's all coming home to roost. I hope people are happy that they didn't have to buy Call of Duty because it got put on Game Pass. I hope that was worth it. Saving $60 was apparently all that they needed to dangle in front of people. Moving forward, games that are either cheap to make or deemed more likely to generate significant revenue windfalls may take priority over riskier bets. You know what's funny? This is literally what Sneakers SO said was coming. Everybody doubted him. Everybody called his leaks into question. This is literally what Sneakers said. Sneakers is like, that's the future. They're gonna do. And listen, WB said the same thing. This isn't unique to Microsoft. They're basically gonna back their big payers, their big IPs. The things that have the most likelihood to have a lot of ROI. While Xbox's floundering hardware division may face a significant rethinking, this is another thing. Okay. This is another thing that Sneakers said. He said that the hardware plans are up in the air. And I told you guys, what did I say? I said, listen, where there's smoke, there's fire. As soon as those rumors start, Microsoft's going to play this shell game with the public's attention, and they're going to refute things that were never stated, which nobody ever said their hardware plans were dead or canceled, but that's what everybody started talking about. Everybody started talking about that, and it's like, that's not what Sneakers said. Sneakers said that the hardware plans are up in the air. Here's Jason Schreier saying Xbox's floundering hardware division may face significant rethinking. In a recent interview with Mashable, Xbox President Sarah Bond said the company's next console will be a very premium, very high-end curated experience, suggesting a departure from the previous Xbox iterations. This was not accidental timing, by the way. The Sarah Bond interview was not accidental. It landed at the exact same time that the dev kit prices went up. And if you don't think they knew this article was coming, they knew this article was coming. Somebody somewhere said, hey, Jason Schreier's on the case. You better get ready. So what she do? She sits down, she does an interview, she tries to get those headlines out there in big, bold letters that next-gen hardware is coming. Next-gen hardware's coming. It's going to be premium. It's going to be high-end. That was 100%, I think, in response to the fact that they knew this was going to happen. They knew we were going to be seeing this information. Bespoke exclamation point. Thank you so much for subscribing to my Purple channel, putting us at 333 on the week. Guys, check your primes, check your re-ups, check it all. Let's push that number and push that like button. I'm going to pause a thing that nobody likes on YouTube. I know you guys don't like it, so hit the like button. An Xbox spokesperson said in a statement that they take a long-term view of their business and that success, quote, doesn't look the same across every project or priority. We look at the business as a whole, balancing creativity, innovation, and sustainability across a diverse portfolio of offerings. As with any creative business, sometimes that means making hard decisions and stopping work on things that are no longer working for a variety of reasons and shifting resources toward the projects that are more aligned with our direction and priorities. Xbox once dominated the lucrative world of video game consoles, surpassing Sony and Nintendo in the 2000s with the popular Xbox 360, but a series of strategic mistakes, starting with the troubled launch of the Xbox One in 2013, led to a significant decline in market share. Microsoft no longer reveals Xbox hardware sales, but analysts estimate that the PlayStation 5 has sold more than twice as many units as the Xbox Series X. I think at this point it's like 3-1, is it not? You know what I mean? I think it's like 3-1. Somebody says your last throes of console war battles is glorious. Do you mean me rating headlines from a reputable source and a reputable news organization that's given very, very reliable information? You think this is the throes of a console war? This is literally me saying, I told you so. I warned people that this is where Xbox was going. I warned people that Microsoft was the problem, and you didn't listen. And now all you can do is throw petty little childish insults about console warring, and I'm sure there's going to be tons of name calling going on in response to a very reputable report about something that's happening with one of the largest, if not the largest company in the world. But sure, you know, you stick to the playground insults because that's probably the level of your intellect. Xbox has struggled to sell consoles largely because it has failed to develop exclusive games on par with Nintendo's The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild or PlayStation's God of War, both of which won Game of the Year awards and drove significant console sales. Xbox's best hope for a blockbuster game in recent years was 2021's Halo Infinite, the latest entry in its most vital franchise. Despite some early accolades, the game was ultimately seen as a failure and led to a complete overhaul of the studio behind it. Later this week, Microsoft will announce a new Halo release in an attempt to resuscitate the franchise. I think this is very much a push to give them better PR. That's what I think is going on. Like, they knew this stuff was going to hit, and they're like, we have got to be ready. We've got to have messaging on point about we've got to have new messaging about hardware. We got to have new messaging about Halo. Like, this is their effort, I think, to really reinvigorate the base. And I got to tell you, I think the base is going to be pretty skittish in light of this report. It's like, now, wait a minute. If this is what you're expecting of your studios, then basically nobody's safe. No project is safe right now. Anything that doesn't have a hard release date is up for grabs right now. And I think that's a legitimate and fair concern. That's not doom and gloom. It's not doom and gloom if it keeps coming true. When a lot of us said that a lot of these games were in jeopardy or they were potentially going to get canceled and studios were going to get closed, we were told that we were being doomers and we were doing doom and gloom. And then it all comes true. And then you have no comeback other than to say, yep, here we go again, Xbox bad. Here we go again, doom and gloom. If your only comeback is these like snide, non-intellectual responses to literal facts, literal reality, if that's your only response, there are better ways to say you're ill-equipped to admit you were wrong or enter into the conversation. This isn't just doom and gloom. This is the reality of what's happening to the brand. One of the biggest brands in gaming in the history of gaming is taking a ridiculous course right out of what used to make them great. You're struggling today, says Eugene, claiming it's AI related when the article is very clear this policy went into effect when ABK was purchased. Yeah, trying to shift blame to AI is a complete ignorant position here. To help bolster its library in the absence of homegrown hits, Xbox has acquired more than a dozen game companies in recent years. In 2020, the company paid $7.5 billion for ZeniMax, the publisher of popular titles such as Fallout and The Elder Scrolls. In 2023, Microsoft completed its $69 billion purchase of Activision Blizzard, the largest gaming acquisition in history. The shopping spree has led to increased scrutiny on Xbox from Microsoft executives, according to people familiar with the business. So here you go. This is the result of your ABK deal. Increased scrutiny. Remember the sentence we read just a little while ago that said, like, Amy Hood's team, the CFO, Amy Hood's team has now taken a more active role in the gaming business? Yeah, this is what you invite. This is what you invite when you get daddy to spend $70 billion so you can have a bunch of games that you didn't make. That's what this is. This is exactly what we were all concerned would happen. At a time when the tech company has been prioritized investment in generative AI and may be less interested in supporting a massive gaming division failing to return big profits. This is the most important part. They are now a massive gaming division and you're failing to return big profits. One of the reasons you're failing to return big profits is because of this shopping spree that they went on. Over the same period, Xbox's strategy has undergone another major shift. A few years ago, the company started requiring all Xbox games to appear on the company's subscription service, Xbox Game Pass, on the same day of their arrival in the stores. Game Pass allows subscribers to pay $30 a month for access to a catalog of hundreds of games without having to shell out roughly $70 for each new title. Yo, Raphael McCoy gifts a member and bumps the line to 334. Brooklyn Breed renews for 27 months. Updated question from a few years ago. How would you turn this thing around at Xbox? Microsoft, 27 months. Let's go. 27 months is amazing. I think the only way to save Xbox is to get it out of the clutches of Microsoft's hands. I'm going to be real with y'all. I'm going to be 100% real with y'all. There's no path forward because that's not how Microsoft operates. Microsoft doesn't give a frick about any of this stuff. They do not care. They are ruthless. They're ruthless. I've been trying to say this for 2 years. I've said it so many times. Microsoft has been the devil in the room the whole time. They're the reason Halo Infinite turned out the way that it did. They're the reason that we're here. It's them. If you go back to the Xbox One era, that's what that was. That was Microsoft saying, we need more customers. You need that box to appeal to more than gamers, so you get TV. Okay? That's a Microsoft initiative. That's a corporate-minded initiative. Like, we just need as many people as possible. They're going to look at Xbox as a division right now, and that's going to be their mentality. All that matters is MAU. All that matters is ROI. If you're small, if your game is not going to have big ROI, if your game is not going to have a big impact on MAU, you're done. We don't need you. That is how they're going to handle this. The only way to save Xbox is to rip it from the clutches of Microsoft and give it to somebody else. What's the point? Why are they like that? I don't know why they're like that. I mean, it could be the emergent property of a company being so large and so successful, and one of the ways they're so successful and so large is they're ruthless. They're ruthless. They're cutthroat. They got to where they are as a software company by being that way. It's part of their DNA. It's part of their business philosophy. This is why I kept telling people, you can brag about Microsoft's deep pockets all you want. Oh yeah, Big Daddy Microsoft's got deep pockets. Yeah, do you know what else they have? They have a bottom line. They have a bottom line. They're going to want profit. They're going to want return. They're going to want ROI, return on investment. You don't spend $70 billion and say, you just keep having fun over there, Xbox. You just do you, boo-boo. You do whatever you want. No, they kicked the door in and they said, we're calling the shots now. We're the captain now. Do you remember the Just 4 Games podcast? One of the things I said in the wake of that podcast was like, Phil Spencer seemed the most non-Phil Spencer that I'd ever seen him. He sounded like he was saying words that he didn't write. It was like he was reading from some script of things that he didn't really believe in. There was something hollow about it. There was something very hollow about it. I think it was because at that point in time, the ship was being driven by Satya. And it was like, we've got to say these things and do these things. This is the new directive. He went from saying, we bought ZeniMax to give you more exclusives, to saying, exclusives are bad. Like that. They go from being like, oh yeah, it's an exclusive, to Sarah Bond saying exclusives are antiquated. I mean, just like that, the tune of the brand and the company changed. And surprise, surprise, it changed directly in line with Satya Nadella's vision. Now do you see why it was so frustrating watching PR mouthpieces just sort of parrot that? We saw people go from championing exclusives to demonizing them. Why? Because Microsoft said so. Satya says so, Phil says so, now you say so. Isn't that convenient? Isn't it convenient that like that all just happened in the span of a couple of years, where Satya sits in front of the FTC and is like, if I had my way, there would be no exclusives. Oh boy, that was quick at hand. And people were just glad to parrot the talking points. Yep, exclusives are bad. You know, gaming is all about just being able to play wherever you want and how you want. Last I checked, gaming is about games being really awesome and good and new and exciting. Not like, well, you know, gaming's all about my ability to play my game on my dadgum iPhone. Like, no one's saying that. The history of gaming is not drenched in that. That's such a false narrative. Gaming's all about just being able to play wherever you want. What are you talking about? That is marketing talking points. That's PR speak. Gamers don't talk like that. Yeah, dude, you know what I say when I was growing up? Gaming's all about being able to play wherever you want. What? We all played on Nintendos and then PlayStations and then Xboxes. We were never like, gaming's all about being able to play wherever you want. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we exclusives are bad. This was never, ever stated by gamers up until very recently. Why? Because Satya Nadella is in charge. The master puppeteer himself gets the brand to say it, gets the willing participants and pundits to say it, and now that's the narrative. Yeah, exclusives are antiquated, and yet Nintendo's going to top sales charts this year with exclusives. PlayStation's topping sales charts or entering sales charts with exclusives like after 3 days of even being on like the actual store. Like Yote was like 3 days in the market is like 18th place already after 3 days. But exclusives are antiquated. Tell that to Nintendo and 7 or 8 years of the Switch 1 dominance and their games crushing and getting awards. That exclusives are antiquated. Tell that to the two market leaders in gaming that exclusives are antiquated. Yeah. Exclusives are bad because they couldn't make it work. The change has hurt Xbox game sales. I'm going to continue reading this Bloomberg article. If you guys are enjoying today's stream, make sure and hit the like button. The change has hurt Xbox game sales, according to the People, a continuing challenge that may make it even more difficult for the studios to achieve a 30% profit margin. I'm here to tell you, this 30% profit margin is just a really, really convenient way to justify shuttering studios. It really, really is. This is just a very, very easy way to be like, yeah, you're out. You didn't hit your accountability margin. Reforge, the industry is evolving. It's profitable to just ship the software to consumers. Exclusives, in my opinion, suck. I'm not getting a box for 1 or 2 games. If the industry's evolving, then why does PlayStation have like a 20 to 30% new user acquisition rate? Why did the Nintendo Switch 2 outsell the Switch 1 in its launch year? Why are exclusives topping sales charts? Why are exclusives consistently winning awards? If the industry's evolving, why are the tried and true strategies working so well for 2 of the 3 companies in the gaming market? It's working really, really well for Nintendo and PlayStation. PlayStation's had their most profitable generation ever. So if the industry's evolving, where are your signs that it's evolving other than Xbox basically abandoning the strategy because they failed so miserably at it? If your only indication that the industry is evolving is one company basically bowing out of the strategy, I don't think you really understand what the word evolution means. I think you're misusing the word. The industry's not evolving. One company's changing strategy, and pundits and mouthpieces are trying to convince you that this is the direction the industry's going because they have to justify what Xbox is doing. That's what's going on. To account for the lost sales, Xbox offers its developers a credit, which it calls a member-weighted value, and it's calculated based on several factors, such as the number of hours that Game Pass players collectively spend on a particular title. The opaque formula seems to favor games in which players can spend the most amount of hours, such as online multiplayer titles, according to people familiar with the calculations. Gee, I wonder why Hi-Fi Rush was hailed as a success and then the studio shut down. Because you've got this weird member-weighted value metric that doesn't even make any sense. Phil Spencer admits in an email that we saw during the FTC trial that they don't even really know how to measure the value of a game that they put on Game Pass. And then you have the nerve to be like, well, we didn't sell enough Hi-Fi Rush, so shut the studio down. You put the dadgum game on Game Pass day one. Gee, I wonder why there weren't high amount of sales for Hi-Fi Rush. Whoever measured the success of that studio and concluded that Hi-Fi Rush didn't sell enough copies, that person doesn't deserve their job because they're dumb. That is such a dumb conclusion to come to. You literally put the game on a subscription service with millions of people and you're like, yeah, we didn't sell a lot of copies. Do you even understand the business that you're working in? Do you even understand your own business structure? Because it doesn't seem like they do. That's disingenuous. PlayStation's putting their games on PC. PlayStation ports their games to PC later with a clear strategy of acquiring new users, which they're touting a 25 to 33% new user acquisition this generation. Therefore, their strategy is working by making it central to the box itself. So that's incorrect. Nintendo is the only one sitting on exclusive strategies. That's because Nintendo fans are married to the brand. It's cultish. Oh, I see. So the most successful company in the gaming business is only successful because you want to insult their user base. What an intellectual argument that you've trotted out. Wow, truly dizzying. You should work for one of these business analyst companies with such incredible and impeccable analysis of the market. Get back with me when your pie chart can measure the weight of cultish behavior as to why Nintendo is so popular and does so well. Also seemingly completely ignoring the business impetus of PlayStation putting games on PC and the success that they've been having of putting the games on PC with their new user acquisition and their most profitable generation ever. But sure, yes, they're putting their games on PC, which means that they're doing exactly what Xbox is doing, which again is completely inaccurate. Again, nothing that you're saying is signs that the industry is evolving. And people always do the same thing with Nintendo. They're like, well, Nintendo's good at Nintendo. And it's like, if the industry was evolving, then Nintendo would not be continuing to see new highs. They would be struggling with their strategy, not continuing to see new heights of success. If the industry was evolving, then that wouldn't work. They would be struggling, and they're not. You can't make sense of it. You just call people cultish because they like Nintendo? You know what's interesting about that? At some level, I think you're right. The thing that Nintendo has just locked in is their identity. That's why you would say, oh, they're cultish. Something I said in a video last year, I was rewatching some of my content about this because I literally said that all this was going to happen last year and the year before that. So I was rewatching some of it, taking some mental victory laps. It was interesting because I said Xbox no longer has a central identity. And I said, starting with the Xbox One, what I feel Xbox started doing, they started chasing consumers instead of having a firm established identity to draw consumers to them. They started chasing consumers outside of gaming with the TV thing, and now they're chasing it with everything as an Xbox. So people who aren't traditionally buying consoles and playing games, they're hoping that you start playing games through your TV, your smartphone, or a tablet because they can't sell consoles to you. So Phil Spencer's like, well, the console market's stagnating, so what are they doing? They're going after consumers outside of the gaming market, the traditional console market. So what they're doing is they're chasing consumers they don't have instead of establishing an identity to draw consumers to them. Nintendo establishes this clear identity, this clear brand, this clear razor-sharp focus. You know what you're getting with Nintendo, and what does it do? People flock to it. They're drawn to it. And it's clearly working for PlayStation because PlayStation's on pace to surpass PS4 in America. They've got new user acquisition. 25 to 30% of the people buying a PlayStation 5 didn't have a PlayStation before. They're coming from somewhere. There's clearly something about having an identity, something that's magnetic to draw people to your brand. Microsoft is out here chasing consumers instead of attracting them. That's the clear difference. So when you say that Nintendo fans are cultish, what you don't realize is that's really high praise that the brand has established that level of brand loyalty. That's what these companies want. They want brand loyalty. That's how you're successful. You can talk about it in a way that's like denigrating and like looking down your nose at people like, well, yeah, they're basically cultists. This is what people do every time something sells well that they predict won't sell well. Anytime anything PlayStation's done and it's sold well, like the PlayStation Portal, it gets talked about in like denigrating ways. As if like you've arrived and you're really intelligent and smart, and all these dum-dums buying a Nintendo or a PlayStation Portal, well, they're just stupid brand loyalists and you're the smart one. I think there's evidence that that's not true. I'm talking about you being smart. I think there's evidence that that's not true. If that's your assessment of like Nintendo's success, that it's just a bunch of cultists. As if that's not a feather in Nintendo's cap anyway, that they have people that are that loyal to the brand. The other thing Nintendo has is really strong IP. Whether it's Pokemon, Mario, or Zelda, or Metroid, or even Kirby, they have really, really strong IP, and that leads to their success. So this idea that like exclusives are antiquated and the industry is evolving, like there's no evidence to that. There isn't. Okay, let's read on. Oh, wait, I want to say one more thing about this, okay? This opaque formula that determines whether or not an Xbox title... Scotty B, thank you for renewing your member. Let me add you to the total. We're at 335 on the week. Thank you guys so much. Get those things going. We're 15 away from the next milestone where I owe you guys a member. Okay, this part's very frustrating because this was a concern that I had a long time ago. I said, listen, Game Pass is just not set up for one and done games, because what it leads to is treating games in a very disposable way. You just like, well, I'll try the game and throw it over my shoulder. It ends up actually devaluing the game significantly. Now, internally, what's that going to do? You're going to have this member-weighted value, and guess what? All that bluster and bloviation about how great Game Pass is and how people just get to try games and then throw them away, guess what? That's a passive death sentence to that title, because internally they're going to say, yeah, people didn't really play your game that long. They just tried it out and moved on. They're just going to go play more Fortnite or something, and they're going to just stick to the multiplayer titles because they were in your game for a whopping hour, and now they're not, and so, yeah, your game must stink. And it's like, you've devalued the actual property before you've made that assessment. You devalue the game, you throw it on a subservice so people don't have to buy it, and then you're going to turn around and use that as an indictment of the game itself. Well, yeah, people didn't really play it for that long. It's like, you devalued it. What do you mean? Being culty is good to a point, I suppose, says Strongbow. Like, I find Nintendo Switch 2 pretty lame and the stuff with the not owning your digital media on their devices. I guess at the end of the day, we have 3 slimy corporations squeezing games for every dollar. I've said for a very long time that the statement or the verbiage of pro-consumer, I have said for a very, very long time that is a misnomer. I've said for a very, very long time that's a misnomer. That's not a thing. None of these companies are pro-consumer. Here, let me set a super chat goal. I forgot to set the super chat goal. Guys, make sure you're hitting the like button if you're enjoying the talk. I will gift a member. Every 5 super chats, I gift a member back. Every time you guys hit a 25 milestone on the goal, on the members as well, I also gift back. So if you can't do a super chat or a membership or a gifted membership, that is totally fine. Hit like, hit subscribe. I am safe for work Monday through Friday talking about the latest in gaming news, and we heavily covered the Xbox Activision deal, and we strongly cautioned people against it for this reason alone. So back to what you were saying, Strong, that like, yes, there are things Nintendo has been doing I am not a fan of at all. I'm merely talking business strategy. Like, it's clear that Nintendo doesn't agree that exclusives are antiquated. And if PlayStation agreed that exclusives were antiquated, if they agreed with that, they would not be waiting and they would not be doing exclusives. Number one, they wait to put things on PC, and they partner with companies for console exclusives. They wouldn't be continuing to budget and spend money for exclusives if exclusives were no longer important. PlayStation continues to signal that exclusives work and help them. They're not pivoting away from exclusives. PC ports coming later are not an indication of that. That is such an egregious misread of their business strategy. They literally continue to spend money on exclusives and help to publish games only on their platform. At least initially, they're doing that because they know what that drives. They know what it drives. Porting a game to PC later doesn't take away from that. That's just tribalism talk from people that want to act like PlayStation doesn't have any exclusives, because that was a fight between Xbox and PlayStation fanboys for a very long time. Once Xbox started putting games on PC, that became a big talking point and a big fight. I never agreed with that. I always said Xbox still has exclusives. When Starfield came out, that was touted as an Xbox exclusive. Now everybody wants to rewrite history and act like, nope, if games come to PC later, PlayStation has no exclusives. Okay, so you're basically arguing with yourself retroactively then. None of these people are consistent. They touted and bragged and celebrated for months and months and months about Starfield being an exclusive. It landed on PC day and date. You see the absolutely erroneousness and illogical nature of the position? You literally celebrated exclusivity of a game that went to PC day and date. But you're going to call a game that comes to PC 18 to 24 to 36 months later, you're like, yeah, that's not an exclusive because I can wait for it. Okay, well then the entire time you were touting games like Starfield as an exclusive, you were lying, or you've just changed your position conveniently now because you're like, oh hey, yeah, that's not an exclusive because it may come to PlayStation at some point in the future. Well then why were you celebrating games like Starfield as an exclusive? Oh, that's right, but you're not consistent. And you just tout talking points and PR nonsense from Microsoft. You don't actually have a genuine position. You just move with them. You just move with them. Whatever they say, you snap in line with. You just snap to and salute. Since Microsoft began releasing most of its game on Nintendo and PlayStation platforms last year, this is probably not the right word. It's not most. It would be some of its games. This is Jason Schreier is usually very, very careful. This is not the right word. That's not the correct word to use there. Since Microsoft began releasing some of its games on Nintendo and PlayStation platforms last year, some Xbox titles have seen early success, such as 2024's Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which is estimated to have performed best on the PlayStation 5. Well, yeah, because you have to buy it on the PlayStation. Of course it performed better. You have to buy it. Again, we saw that they lost like $300 million by putting Call of Duty on Game Pass. Like, come on. What are we even talking about here? In July, Hood, this is the CFO, Amy Hood, said on a call with investors that operating income in the Xbox division rose 34% for the quarter that ended in June due to continued prioritization of higher margin opportunities. The company is due to report earnings on October the 29th. There you go. That's the end of the article. I mean, this is literally what I saw coming. It's like if you let Microsoft spend this kind of money, they are absolutely going to say, we got to change. You can't keep doing this. You can't keep doing exclusives. You're there, and again, I said this the other day. They're not going to be concerned with small titles. Why would they? They need the big ones. Even Warner Brothers said that recently. This is going to be a very common thing with bigger companies as, you know, budgets for games get higher and higher and margins start to shrink. What they're going to do to combat that is they're going to limit the number of new, lesser known stuff. They're going to limit the number of studios they have that are smaller. And they're going to only really back those winning horses. They're only going to back those big IPs that they know they can generate tons of money with, like Call of Duty as an example. If you guys want to use my question command to submit questions, you have to be a member. Click the join button or use your Prime or sub on Purple. Either place works. All right? Let's start taking some questions here. What do you think happened to Fable? Listen. Listen. People are going to say that this is doom and gloom. All right? Thank you, Viper86, for subscribing over here on Purple. The battle between Purple and YouTube rages on as we now have a very, very close race. It's within 6. Thank you so much for doing that, Viper. That name is familiar. Did you follow me in the past? I feel like you did. Or maybe you came from YouTube. In any case, thank you, Viper. People are going to call this doom, and they're going to call this doom and gloom or whatever. I would be worried about anything. You're subbed on YouTube. Thank you. Anything that doesn't have like a concrete release date, like Outer Worlds 2 or something, that's like just around the corner, I would be concerned about all of it. I'd be concerned about all of it. What's good, Brap? Brap says, wouldn't surprise me if we hear of studio closures or layoffs in the next couple of weeks. Sneakers SO said that first quarter of 2026, we're seeing more. That there are more coming. There's more layoffs and more studio closures. If you guys haven't hit the like button yet on YouTube, try to get me to 300 likes. I don't like pivoting like this, but the live audience that is here every day, you guys are the reason I'm able to do this. And so I was like, I didn't want to make you guys wait, because tomorrow is all about Halo. And I was like, people are not going to want to talk about... I had an Arc Raiders show for today. Like, people are not going to want to talk Arc Raiders. They're going to want to talk about this Bloomberg article. Viper86 comes over and clicks the join button on YouTube as well. He's double dipping. Thank you so much. So the current question on the docket, and this is something that members can do, is from Damien. What do you think happened to Fable? Listen, I said this earlier. The frustration point for me here is that these studios get set up to fail, and then they get punished for taking too long to bring the game to market. And it's like, you're setting them up to fail. Siriu with the 5 bomb on YouTube gets us to 342. Thank you so much, Siriu. Halo on PS5 tomorrow? Probably. Brandon comes in and subscribes over here on Purple. Thank you guys so much. We're seeing a lot of people come back around on Purple, and I really appreciate that. Thank you for that. Wait until turned into waited until studio closures. What are your thoughts on the Power Wash Simulator 2 released 20 minutes ago on PlayStation? Is it worth the buy? That has nothing to do with what we're talking about, homie. I don't have an opinion on that because it just came out and I haven't played it. I'm sitting here doing a stream about a Bloomberg article. How could I possibly have an opinion on a game that launched 20 minutes ago? Like, what? It's a bizarre question, my friend. I mean, if you're looking at Fable, if you're looking at State of Decay 3, Blade, these are all concerning projects. Blade, I would be concerned about Blade because of the margins being under threat because of the Marvel deal, the royalty split. Microsoft's going to look at that and be like, no, cut that loose. We're not going to make enough money on it. I was crazy for saying that in Green Room yesterday. You were crazy for saying what? My allergies are acting up. Sorry, I'm trying not to. I'm trying to move away from the mic when I have to sniff or something. It's like a matter of who is the lesser evil. I hope Halo on PS5. I've been playing Halo for 25 years now. I can't wait for new players to experience the game. Halo Studios needs to deliver a game. People coming around. Well, I mean, you said it about days where it wasn't true, Rope. Like, I can see the metrics on the back end. You can't. You said it about days that wasn't true. Every day this week was actually not great over here. I don't know what's happening today, but 3 or 4 people have come in and followed and subscribed. One of them came from YouTube, by the way. Vipers came from YouTube. So again, I don't think what you were estimating yesterday is actually true of what's happening for us on Purple. We're not seeing a big change over there. Music and Gaming Forever, thank you so much for using your Prime and hitting 6 months on Purple. I appreciate it so much. Yeah, we were at 343 members. That's a strange happenstance. Yeah, so if you're looking at State of Decay 3, if you're looking at Fable, future Xbox games, right? That's a huge concern because, like I said, with Blade, we know that the margins on Marvel games aren't great because you are having to do a royalty share. There is a desire from Marvel and Disney to have really, really high quantity of sales. Like when they license the game like that, they expect really good results. Now, hopefully, their expectations of Blade are pretty reasonable. Like Blade ain't no Spider-Man. Like Spider-Man is globally very, very popular. So, I would hope that there's reasonable expectations there. You would also hope that Microsoft has a relationship with Disney and Marvel that's healthy enough for them to be like, we're not just going to cut that game, like we're going to bring it to market. Like that would be a little bit embarrassing to have a Marvel property canceled after, the reception to that announcement was pretty good. A division of Microsoft that wasn't profitable for years was allowed to spend over $70 billion on acquisitions. After this failed, how can people be mad that the company is trying to make that money back? Well, I think you might be misunderstanding. So, my frustration comes from the fact that as a consumer and a commentator, I said from the very beginning of my ABK coverage, I was like, this is a bad idea. This is not going to be good for the consumer. This is not going to be good for the market. And the same people that are right now lock in step with Microsoft's marketing and they're saying that exclusives are bad and the industry's changing and this is an Xbox. Like, those people are the same people that told you with a straight face this acquisition would be good for the industry. This Activision deal would be good for the studios and the employees. Those are the same people that are now telling you that This is where the industry's going. It's evolving. I'm here to tell you they're wrong. They were wrong back then, and they're wrong today. They were wrong back then, and they're wrong today. The acquisition was not a good idea, and you're seeing the results of it now. And this whole, the industry's changing and exclusives are bad and antiquated. They're just as wrong today as they were back then. They are. So, I'm not going to pull up receipts, and I'm not going to pull up people's content, their channels, or their Twitter feeds. I don't need to do that. Somebody once said, I use people's names for clicks. That is a flat-out lie. I don't throw people's names in my content for clicks. Now, if I react to somebody like Maddie Plays or Laura Fryer or SkillUp, very charitable. These are people that I respect. I'm not pulling receipts on people and having like gotcha moments. I'm not doing that. Afternoon Lono surprise. What's good, Fen? Wait, Fen, where have you been? What do you mean? Have I not been showing up on your homepage on YouTube? YouTube's been having some issues. Hang on a second. Banshee. Lono's hot today, chat. If you're going to debate, you better bring your A game. Thank you, Banshee, for a double dip in 7 months over there on Purple. Boom, there it is. We are exactly 5 members away from 350. Exactly 5 away. Yo, what's good, Ghost in the Garage? Amy Hood is the new scapegoat. When lots of the ire should be cast at the Xbox 6, who mismanaged what they had and flew too close to the sun using Microsoft's $80 billion. Do we think that they're the ones that thought we should spend that money? Think about it with me, Ghost. Phil gets ZeniMax, and he's like, let's get some more exclusives. I'm annoyed you don't use names, says Zubair. And a 5 bomb comes in from Broken Earth. Boom. Perfectly securing 350. I now owe YouTube a member. Eugene says scapegoat. Like, why is she the scapegoat? I don't understand. Why do you think she's the scapegoat? Like, it sounds like she's walking in the room and saying, hey, y'all wanted to spend that money. And now I'm busy. I'm a busy man. No, okay, Fen, I was just making sure that, like, you weren't dealing with the YouTube glitch. Like, YouTube has been very much acting up, and we were worried I wasn't, like, showing up on people's homepages. Brap says, yeah, seeing Xbox content creators scapegoating Amy Hood. Well, I guess the question would be, where do you think the initiative to buy Activision Blizzard came from? Do you think it came from Phil? Or do you think it came from Satya and Microsoft corporate? My gut on this is it came from Microsoft. I think Microsoft said, I don't think this is going to work. I don't think that division's profitable. I think the only way to make it profitable is to apply the software strategy. We're seeing it work with Minecraft. Let's go buy really big pieces of property. Remember what Matt Booty said. Matt Booty said there are now games that are larger than any one platform, and that's really changed how we think about things. Thank you so much. My name isn't real for renewing your membership. If you guys want your membership to count over here, it's got to be Member Plus. I can't tell the difference between gifteds and non-gifteds. I've switched the name back to normal member because I didn't like the name gifted members sitting there, but you think it was 100% Phil Spencer, Ghost? No, I'm not bringing anybody in on the mic right now. That's not what I'm doing. Microsoft was the one. Phil has no say. I don't know. I don't know who's to blame. I don't know if Phil wanted to do the ABK acquisition or if Microsoft did. My gut tells me that's a Microsoft move. That's Microsoft's DNA and culture. They are corporate raiders. That is a Microsoft playbook if I've ever seen one. Buy the big guy in the room. Buy him up. That's a Microsoft move. Phil could petition for the ABK purchase, but he can't make the call, says Zubair. Phil could talk them into it. I just don't know. I don't know. My gut says this is all from Microsoft. Hey, it's Chill Will. Thank you for 9 months. And you guys know me. I'm not sitting here trying to act like Phil is blameless and Phil's the good guy. I'm not trying to do that. But what I'm trying to tell you is big spending, big acquisition, that is a Microsoft playbook. That's Microsoft DNA. That's what they are. They're corporate raiders. Like, that's how they operate. The way Phil talked about the ZeniMax acquisition, I don't know. It felt like to me, think of it this way. When he talked about the ZeniMax acquisition, he talked about how, they had learned that, Starfield was being considered as an exclusive and they didn't want that to happen. So he was playing the exclusive playbook. He's still playing according to that playbook. Well, we didn't want them to have that exclusive. So we're trying to kind of navigate, down here in this landscape. And Microsoft walks in the room and is like, we think we should buy Activision Blizzard. We want Call of Duty and we want King Mobile. Why? Well, they print money. They print money. And then they do it, and then as soon as they do it, as soon as the ink is dry on the contract, all of a sudden we're implementing Microsoft's software strategy. Again, that feels like they're the initiator. They walk in the room like, yeah, here's the check and here's the new playbook. Here you go. I could be wrong, but that's what I feel like. I feel like this originated with Microsoft. It was Satya. He approached ABK. Okay, so according to CNBC, I've got a news report here from CNBC stating that, let me scroll all the way down here in the Discord. Microsoft's talks with Activision started days after the report of the misconduct sent the stock tumbling. Microsoft first reached out to the game publisher Activision Blizzard about a possible tie-up the same week the media report landed, asserting that Activision CEO Bobby Kotick was known for years about cases of misconduct at the company. I'm not going to say the words, okay? The filing indicates that the companies began negotiations in November, 2 months before agreeing to $68.7 billion, which was the largest purchase for a U.S. technology company in history. For Microsoft, the timing was opportunistic. They're corporate raiders. They're corporate raiders. Microsoft sees one of the biggest publishers in the game slip and stumble and skin their knee, and they're like, we'll help you up. Yeah, we're here. They swooped in so fast. They're like, oh, look at that. Look at that. They just took a tumble. Ooh, that stock value just plummeted. Let's get them. Let's go get them. That's Microsoft. I told you, that's their DNA. They're corporate raiders. That's what they look for. They look for those opportunities. And that's why I'm like, this isn't a Phil thing. This doesn't feel like a Phil Spencer thing. Phil Spencer he's never spoken in these ways. He's talking about exclusives when they get ZeniMax. ABK deal comes in and everything changes. All of a sudden, Satya is getting his way. No more exclusives. Like what I said earlier, when Satya says, now we can do what we've always wanted to do, which is publish games on all platforms. That's what Satya has always wanted to do. He's speaking for himself when he says that. When has Phil ever said, yeah, that's what we've always wanted to do. We've always wanted to put games everywhere. Now, they can say when everybody plays, everybody wins and all of that. That was their justification for their PC strategy because they were no longer just putting games on their Xbox. That was just a fancy way to say, yeah, more people playing is a good thing. I don't think this was ever in Phil Spencer's mind. At least not until Satya put it there. Hang on. Dylan with a 10-month resubscription. I love being a member. Thank you so much. We're at 352 on the week. Thank you, boys. Make sure and hit that like button. We need 30 more likes right now. Take a quick second and make sure you have pressed the thumbs up button. Ghost in the Garage Gaming says, yes, the one CEO talked to another CEO. You wouldn't send an intermediate to broker that deal. Also, all the talk in the ABK filings about spending them out of the business. Yeah, but Matt Booty said that. And he wasn't wrong. The irony is so rich that, yeah, you could have spent PlayStation out of the business. You know what you could have done? You could have spent all that money and invested in your studios. you could have been willing to pay benefits and got rid of the 18-month contract policy so that you had better, team synergy and vision transfer and a cohesive, creative, collaborative effort. I've been helping my daughter write papers, and that was a really good alliteration. She would have liked that. Anyways, so that right there, I think, is the sign that makes this so frustrating. It's like, you could have spent PlayStation under the table. You could have went out and spent all this money. You could have snagged exclusives. You didn't need to do the Series S. You could have subsidized the Series X and really pushed graphics, been willing to pay contract workers benefits. You could have done all of that, and you'd have gotten better results, better games, better sales. They took a terrible approach to all of this, which is why every studio under their ownership now, it's like, well, okay, well, hopefully you're able to get that project across the finish line, because it ain't looking good. People that want benefits can get a job at AMD, Nvidia, or Sony. This is Microsoft. That's right. Oh, I get it. This is Microsoft, like Sparta. Kicks the devs into the hole. Bobby Kotick and Satya Nadella were part of a collective that failed to put Snapchat. And early talk started to buy Activision, but the thing at Activision came out and got the ball rolling. I mean, this report seems to indicate that the report comes out, Activision stock tumbles, and Microsoft swoops in. Like I said, that's in their DNA. They are corporate raiders. That's what Microsoft does. They don't mess around. They don't mess around. Sorry, I couldn't see my bit rate. We're trying something new today. We're trying something new. I was using a type of I was using AV1 since January, and I was worried that it was making it hard for people to watch the stream. So if it's easier for you to watch the stream now, and maybe you were having trouble in the past, let me know. It could be pure coincidence, but I wanted to run a bit of an experiment. Obviously, today's viewership is popping because of the topic, and it's red hot, and we jumped on it because nobody would have wanted to talk about the other topic today. So you can submit questions like this if you're a member, so be sure to get your memberships up and running. And guys, again, triple, double check that like button. The likes are not moving, probably because a lot of people here don't want to click the like button because they're watching in the shadows and they don't like me, and that's totally okay. But if you like the content and you like the show, please hit that like button. The OA says, the writing's on the wall, and I know it's wishful thinking, but if you could choose one IP for Microsoft to sell and let it live in another garden, what would you pick? I don't know. Gears of War comes to mind. Halo comes to mind. I mean, they own a lot of property. So, it's a little concerning about Fable. I mean, seeing Perfect Dark canceled was a huge bummer. Everwild was promising. I mean, and now you got the guy from Halo that left. It's like talking in code about they're trying to force people out or something at Halo Studios. Banjo? No, Banjo-Kazooie is not the kind of game that has a future anywhere. Those games are old and no one cares about them. I know anytime I say stuff like that, I get clipped, but the reality is, listen, those old titles are non-starters, man. They are non-starters. The broad market right now, if you brought out a Banjo-Kazooie, they'd be like, Banjo who? Like, the number of units you would sell? Like, come on, y'all. It's just the reality. Sucker Punch was literally interviewed recently about this, about like Sly Cooper, and he was like, look, there's like 10% of people at the company that would even want to make a Sly Cooper. You would need developers that would even want to do it. How many developers are just chomping at the bit to do a new Banjo-Kazooie? You want games to be born out of passion, not like, well, let's just go back and grab something nostalgic. You want your devs and your studios to be just gung-ho about a project. I just don't think there are devs just lining up to be like, dude, I really, really want to make a Banjo-Kazooie. Come on. To you, if you think there is broad market demand for Banjo-Kazooie or Sly Cooper or Jak and Daxter or any of these titles, homie, if there was market demand for them, they would be here. That's such an easy grab. Like, you got the IP, you got the property, you got the games. Like, what do you mean? People love old games. If they came out with remakes of Banjo with Toys R Bob graphics, people would buy it up. You know what? You're free to think that. I see it differently. There's no reason to debate it further. I don't think there's strong demand for old games like that. I think really, really long-standing fans get really excited, and the rest of the market would shrug or say, "What's that?" I really don't think. I really don't think they would have much of a chance. But you're free to think otherwise. I'm going to move on. I don't think it's worth debating for much further than we already have. Stone Spire says, now that this has come to light, what are the odds of Microsoft canceling Fable, especially after all the development issues it's had over the years? I mean, this is obviously the concern, because if you read the way that the article reads, it's like games that took too long to come to market, Microsoft kicks the door in and says, get the frick out of here. You're taking too long. So that, yeah, any game that's seeing struggles, problems, or slowness, they're all in jeopardy. That's not even doom and gloom. I just think that's a basic assessment of the situation. Yeah, Jez Corden is agreeing with me here that this is not a Phil Spencer issue, and I know some of you guys don't like Jez. I don't have any issue with Jez. Phil is the only reason Xbox is even a shell of its former self left. Amy would love to replace Phil with a yes man and hollow out any part of Xbox that's creative and innovative, doubling down on all the worst aspects. Do you guys remember when I said that I think Phil Spencer fought to put Call of Duty on Game Pass? I was basically told privately that I was correct about that. I was told privately that I was correct about that. That, listen, he fought for that because Microsoft was like, get the frick out of here. We're not doing that. We are not putting that piece of property on Game Pass. And Phil was like, he fought. Remember when I said that Phil kept stressing the word creative in that one interview? He kept saying creative, creative, creative. We've got to let people be creative. I think he was speaking like in between the lines. You had to read what he was saying. He was basically saying, I understand what this industry needs. You need to let people be creative. Microsoft doesn't understand creative. They make Windows. They make tools. They're like, yeah, we'll fix it later. They can get away with an 18-month contract policy because the guy who's on a contract working on Microsoft Office, he leaves and you put somebody else in his seat, and it's pretty easy for that new person to pick up the ball and go. Why? You're building a tool. You're building something utilitarian. It has no soul, no heart, no passion, no artistry. You can't do that in gaming. You can't be like, hey, buddy, you've been working on Halo for 18 months, and you and your team have great synergy and really great vision transfer, and you all really understand each other's proclivities and how you all work. You guys understand the flow of the project. You understand where you go when you have a problem. Yeah, you're out of here. Yeah, it's been 18 months. Get out. We got to put somebody new in your place. They got to go through onboarding, which takes like a month or more sometimes. You got to get involved in the process and understand how we do things in this engine and how we do things on this team's different than that team over there. Yeah. You're brand new. Get in there and get to work. And it's like, that doesn't work in a creative process. Microsoft does not understand creative process. They are acidic to creative process. College says, you make a lot of sense. Once you start with the premise that Microsoft, not Xbox, acquired ABK, everything that has taken place falls into place. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. They said, listen, there's big money to be made out there. They're looking at their MAUs and their revenue from Minecraft, and they're like, that's what we want. Go get us more Minecraft. Go get us more Minecrafts. We want more Minecrafts because Minecrafts make money. And then they go and get Minecrafts for them. They get them Call of Duty. They get them Candy Crush. And Sneakers SO speculated that that's all you're going to have in the future. It's just a bunch of big IP. And you're not going to... The little scrappy IP, little scrappy studios, none of that. None of that is going to have a chance because it can't have good return. It can't have really strong returns. Smaller studios and smaller games can have good return, but they're not going to have strong enough return to be appealing to Microsoft. That's the issue. Bumblepants says, will Call of Duty get support? Oh, we'll get support studio cuts and begin a downward spiral in 2026 or 2027. That's another thing to be concerned about. Is another thing a company like Microsoft will do is they'll look at Call of Duty and they'll say, where can we trim? Where can we trim the fat here? Where can we find redundancies? Why would you do that? It's a moneymaker. If you can generate roughly the same amount of money and get rid of 100 people, you're going to make way more money. My name is real with a membership renewal says Microsoft are toxic. A Quantive 6.3 billion, Nokia 7.2 billion, Danger 500 million, Hotmail 500 million, Fast 1.2 billion, Tell Me 800 million, and that's before we even hit gaming. They are corporate raiders. That's what they do. So many of us tried to warn about this, and we were cast aside. We were called ponies and grifters and liars. And see, what'll happen is when I bring this up, they don't want me to bring this up because they know they did it. They know they sat on their podcasts and their shows and ran their mouth to their audiences. They know they did that. And when you bring it up in a very, very traditional sort of manipulative, sort of gaslighting sort of way, they'll be like, yeah, you're just playing the victim. You're just making this about you. No, make no mistake. You made it about me. I sat in the chair, looked at ABK, read over more PDFs than I want to read over to cover that in great detail, and kept trying to tell people, you don't understand what's going on here. This is not something that will be good for you or the industry or these studios. And people made it personal. And if I bring that up, they're like a very, very expert gaslighter. They'll be like, well, you're just playing victim and you're making this about you. Do you see how that works? They make it about you. They name call. They slander. They lie. They defame. They spent months doing that to me to try to dismiss me as if I didn't know what I was talking about. And now if I bring that up and say that, that's what their response will be. No accountability, no integrity, no character to be like, we got this wrong. We made it personal. We attacked people. We brought up situations with Reforge from the past that had no bearing on the reporting, and also all that stuff from the past has been virtually almost all falsified. But they had no problem. They had no problem bringing it up and throwing it in my face. Do you know the one person who had the stones to publicly apologize and admit he was wrong and shake my hand privately as well as publicly was Tim Dog. Nobody else has the stones to walk out and be a man of integrity to be like, you know what? We absolutely lambasted that guy, called him names, slandered him, defamed him, said all these terrible things, and we got this one wrong. We got this one woefully wrong. He's the only one. Nobody else. They'll still run narrative on me. They'll still lie. They'll still say all kind of nonsense on Twitter about me. Or they'll subtweet about me. You know. Because that's not cowardice. Like, the one person, and Tim gets a little crazy. Tim gets a little wild on Twitter. But at least he had the balls to apologize to me. And to shake my hand and be like, I had it wrong. I had it wrong. Jez never apologized. Jez deleted the one or two things he said about me way back before we really interacted. He deleted those tweets, and we've been amicable in the private, in like private DMs ever since. Jez has never once used his platform to insult me or drum up the past. The one time he did, he took it down, and we had a very cordial conversation. That was years ago, by the way. Yeah, Jez took all that down. The OA, I can't wait for Laura Fryer's next video. Thank you for the $10 super chat. I appreciate it very, very much. He blocked you for defending me? Well, at the time, okay, listen. At the time, what happened with Jez was I took issue with one of his articles about the ABK deal, okay? He said something about, like, you could argue against something with crayons. And I was like, well, then do it. Like, actually argue against what they're saying or whatever, okay? I took issue with his article, and I was critical of it. I put it up in one of my videos, and it was a live stream, and I was, like, talking through it. Well, guess what people did? People clipped it, okay? People clipped it, and they threw it in his face, and they threw it in Tom Warren's face. And so, obviously, they reacted and defended themselves, and they went on the attack against me. And Tom Warren never took anything down, but Jez did. And I have not had an issue with him since. And I feel like we've been totally amicable to each other. Speaking of Twitter, the Ninja Gaiden footage keeps showing up in my feed, so much exaggeration. What's really funny about the Ninja Gaiden clip, Brandon, is I literally say in the clip, I'm like, they're going to clip this, the people that hate me, and they're going to call it a rage quit. And these Ninja Gaiden fans who, like, I'm curious, are Ninja Gaiden fans okay? Are they okay? Like, I calmly explain why the game's not for me. I basically I take like 90% of the blame. I'm like, I can't hang with a game like this. I'm too old. I'm too slow. My brain's not wired this way. Gene Park on the show with Jaffe even said, he's like, Reforge just said his brain doesn't get charged up by getting beat down. He's not wired for this game, like, because Gene Park's a charitable and intelligent person, not some weird idiot on Twitter that just watches not watches a clip, but sees a clip false framed and responds to the false frame. This guy went on a tirade on me last night, and I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to mute you. I'm not going to interact with you. You're literally letting some sycophantic, sadistic, harassing weirdo on Twitter convince you that I rage quit Ninja Gaiden 4 and insulted the game, and apparently I've also insulted your mother with the level of vitriol you're throwing at me. It's like, I played it for an hour and a half, and I was like, I'm not good enough for this. I'm not. I don't play games like this. I'm not fast enough. I'm not wired for it. I have no experience with these games. I place all the blame on myself. And, like, I made, like, a minor reference to Tsushima or Yote, and the guy's like, and you're comparing the game to Yote? No, you literal doorknob. I wasn't comparing the game to Yote. I was referencing another game that I had recently played that does the whole, like, ranged enemy pain thing, and I just said, I'm used to that. I don't mind that, but you just spawns new enemies. And I was just like, I don't feel like playing that right now. I don't feel like playing a game that's going to do that. And the guy responds like I was like, yeah, your mother is a blankety blank. And I was like, you guys need to calm down. They're just video games. If somebody doesn't like a game and quits, you'll be okay. You will be all right. Do you know what I did last night while you were seething and mauling on Twitter about me rage quitting Ninja Gaiden? I played Painkiller with my wife and had a blast. Maybe you should try that. Try and just play games for fun instead of writing diatribes on Twitter because somebody you don't even know didn't like the game or quit the game. Like, what kind of pathetic? It's just like, huh? Jiminy Christmas. It was the most calm, most charitable way I've ever quit a game, and it still got completely misrepresented, and then these people rage at it. And it's like, you're too stupid to watch the clip, and yet you want to wax self-righteous and get judgmental? Gee, money. Imagine being that dumb. Imagine being that dumb. It's like, watch the clip. It's not even a rage quit. It's like, this isn't for me, y'all. I'm like laughing. I'm like, this isn't for me. I'm too old. You know, you're bad at games. You need to be better. I literally say that I'm not good enough. What more do you want? What more do you want? I'm not good enough for these games, man. I'm too slow and I'm too old and I just don't have what it takes. It's a skill issue. I know. I just said that it was a skill issue. I just own the fact that it was a skill issue. Gee, purrs. These guys need to take a day off. They really do. My man's got less flack for not enjoying Silksong. No, I got flack for that. Yeah. They love it. They love it when I quit a game. They do. Because they take value in beating games and finishing games because they have no other value in life. They bring nothing else. They bring nothing else of value to the public. The only thing they can bring are screenshots of their achievements in games. Like, that's all they've got. That's why they judge people who quit games. Like, if you're platinuming games and getting achievements and you think that's great, that's awesome. If you're doing that while also attacking people who just decide to not finish a game or quit a game or put the game on easy, listen, you need to understand that's not what gamers are about. Like, that isn't. That's just like insecure, boyish behavior to like attack others and to be like, yeah, this guy doesn't finish game, he quits games. And it's like, what do you mean? Like, I've rolled credits on, I don't even know, 15, 17 games this year. You know what I don't do? I don't screenshot every time I finish a game and go yell at people who didn't. That's just pathetic behavior. It is. And then they'll try to claim that I say trophy hunters and people going for achievements are pathetic. No, you're pathetic because you weaponize your achievements against other people. People who go for achievements and trophies aren't pathetic. You are. If you're weaponizing it and attacking other people, like, you're just letting everybody know you're like an insecure little boy. Like, that's not what... I don't know a single man that I respect that would act like that. That's just weird. It's weird energy. You get as many trophies and platinums as you want. You print them out, you frame them, you put them on the wall, you tweet about them. But the minute you take something like that and you want to attack others and call them a name and weaponize your following and weaponize people to like attack them, you're not a gamer. You aren't. You're just some weird, pathetic sycophant that needs professional help. Like, that's not what games are supposed to be about. I calmly quit a game and I get attacked for it. That is a clear sign that you don't really enjoy games. You're playing games for some other weird reason. If you see a clip of somebody calmly quitting a game that you like and you come unhinged and just unload on them, that's a serious problem. That is weird behavior. It's why I just muted the guys. Like, I'm not going to interact with you about this at all. That's unhinged and unstable. That's bizarre. I saw the clip of Gene Park and David Jaffe talking about me, and because they're like adults that are balanced, they were just like, yeah, it wasn't for him. He admitted that it wasn't for him. Like, they weren't talking trash. They were just saying, this is a game that might not really jive with you if that's not the kind of game you're looking for. Gene Park wants a game to step on him. He gets excited by that. Maybe he gets excited by getting stepped on in other ways. I'm just kidding, Gene. But you see what I'm saying? It's like, I just, if you like games and certain things about those games activate you and excite you and they make you want to play more, dude, go. Go have so much fun doing that. Hurling hate at another person for not enjoying a game that you like, I don't understand that at all. No, you're not muted, Marco. I've got 60 hours in Yote, 43 hours in Borderlands, 3 or 4 hours in Painkiller with my wife last night. Like, I'm just playing games and enjoying them. And if me putting down Ninja Gaiden after an hour and a half is that upsetting and that worthy of thousands of views and all these hateful comments, I got news for you. Y'all are the ones on the outside. You're on the outside. You're not the cool kid club. You're not the ones on the inside. You're not the ones that people want to be like. You're the people everybody avoids. Like, a bunch of maidenless energy out here over video games. I've always been a completionist before trophies and achievements. I love getting the most out of games that I pay for. I couldn't care less how other people play games. Definitely would crap on them. I think you mean definitely you would not crap on them. Yeah, there it is. There's the nod. Platinum Trophy shaming people is just the new generation's versions of rubbing their KD in everyone's faces. I watched. He gave the game plenty of love and respect. That's the other thing that's crazy about the clip. Like, the guy that absolutely went in on me and, like, berated me, it's like, did you even watch the clip? Or did you just get triggered because somebody didn't like the thing that you liked because your emotional stability doesn't excel past, like, a 5-year-old throwing a tantrum? Like, I heap praise on the game. I'm like, it's a good game. People that like these games are probably in heaven. And I'm sitting here saying, I'm wearing somebody else's shoes. I can't hang with this game. I can't. If that's upsetting to you, that is a you problem. You got to do a mental health day or something. That's not right. There's something wrong there. There's something off. There's something off. Games are here for you. I've said this a lot. Games are here for you. They're here to serve you and to bring you enjoyment. You're not here to serve them. If you're not liking something, put it down. Play something else. So many people treat games in a way that it's unhealthy. It is unhealthy. You're attacking a stranger on the internet because he calmly put a game down. You watch that clip, if that's a rage quit, oh my gosh. It's like the calmest rage quit in the history of rage quits. Black Myth Wukong was pretty difficult. Didn't you play that? Yeah, I played it up to the point where you like fight the black bear or whatever, and I beat the bear. The performance on PlayStation is just terrible. I think my ceiling, I need to move on to the questions. I'll just say this. My ceiling of skill is Sekiro. If your game is faster, more intense, or kind of more crazy than Sekiro, I can't hang. I can't hang. That's a me problem. I'm owning the fact that, like, I'm 43. I'm slower than I used to be. Listen, I've never been a high-level player anyway, even when I played Call of Duty back in the day. I've never been a high-level player. I've never postured as a high-level player. I literally own the fact that I'm, like, casual dad gamer, and these guys still scream and yell at me on the internet about, like, when I don't like a game or don't finish a game or when I put a game on easy. Like, denigrating me because I put a game on easy or put a game down. It's like, it's very bizarre. It's very bizarre. Yes, I'm 43. And I've just reached a point where I'm like, I know what the ceiling of my abilities are. I get into certain games and I'm like, homie, I can't hang. Or I know, yeah, I could spend the rest of the day figuring this out, but I don't want to. I could spend the rest of the day trying to figure this fight out. I don't want to. It's like, I could probably get pretty good at bowling, but I don't want to. Do you see? It's like, the game is designed to be beaten. I've been playing games since, the Coleco. I could figure it out. I don't have a desire to. And that's okay. Sekiro's not an easy game. No, Sekiro's not easy. What I'm saying is like, Sekiro is basically my ceiling. If you go beyond Sekiro, I'm not going to be able to hang out. It's a skill issue. I'm going to absolutely skill out of the game. I'm like, I can't do this. So, Buckeye with a question says, do you think this Xbox news means that if the next 2 Halo projects fail to meet sales or critical expectations that the franchise may get shuttered? I really don't know. I mean, I think that in general, the situation with Halo and the Halo announcement and really all Xbox games going forward, I, for a long time, have felt that if nothing is sacred in the realm of exclusives, then nothing is sacred in the realm of, like, shuttering a studio. Nothing sacred. Yo, what's good, Ray? I play every game on easy mode. I'm 43 as well. Listen. Casual dad gamers unite. Because there's more of us than there are of these little mouthy youngbloods out here, okay? They weren't there when the old magic was written. We were there when the Nintendo got opened Christmas morning. We were there when the first, home console came into the home. Like, we were there, okay? You don't let these young bloods talk smack to you. we are quite literally by definition the OGs. So, don't let these little whippersnappers run their mouths. Just mute them and move on. They're children. They're dust in the wind. They're nothing. But to answer that question, I'm here to tell you, if nothing's sacred for exclusives, I don't think anything's sacred with respect to stuff just getting canceled. I just don't think there's anything sacred. They could determine that it's not worth it. They could determine that it's not turning enough profit. They could determine that the brand itself is not strong enough in the market. I mean, there's so many things they could determine. Do you have an I'm a proud casual dad gamer shirt? No. I'm 21 and I put games on easy. I don't care. I ain't about all that. That's what I'm saying, Spice. Some people are just trying to chill. Some of us are just trying to chill. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the problem with that? Why is that a big deal? What I think it is, I think they take it as like an insult when you're a content creator, because they think that that I'm supposed to be all about that as a creator, and it's like, what makes a creator relatable is being relatable, and I don't think it's relatable to like obsess over these things. I think the common man, the workaday dads and moms of the world, the busy college students of the world, they're like, man, I don't give a frick about that stuff. Oh, I missed this one. Hang on. My name isn't real. I missed that you gifted a member. I am sorry about that. That was a while ago. Thank you. And Broken Earth with a $5 super chat says, the kids can outgame us in hard mode, but they would never have survived the old COD lobbies. Their tender fifis would fall apart. Yeah, they also couldn't run and operate a business and support a family either, because while I'm busy doing that, they're busy ranting on Twitter and clipping my show all day. So we have different achievements and goals in life. You know what I mean? I provide for a family, and they spend their days on Twitter. We are not the same, okay? Like, we are not the same. Live a better life. You know what I mean? Grow up and live a better life. You're wasting it. You're wasting your life in this petulant, weird behavior. It's just so pathetic. Silksong showed me that I've crossed the threshold into dad gamer. I'm 36 and I probably should have accepted it 5 years ago. I'm telling you, Taylor, it's like that dad that goes and tries to play football, and all of a sudden he realizes he ain't got it anymore. Or he tries to go and ball with his son, and he's like, I ain't got it anymore, dude. My knees are making a clicking sound. The next day you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I got beat up. And all you did was play some sports with your kids in the backyard. We've all been there. We've been there. It's okay. There are other hobbies. There are other games. There are difficulty settings sometimes. You keep on gaming. You keep on gaming, big man. Just maybe don't play Silksong or Ninja Gaiden 4. You know what I mean? To be fair, some people would not consider family a fulfilling life. That's fine. Start a business. Do something. Start a business. Support yourself. Go do something. Jiminy. You know what I mean? These guys living terminally on Twitter. You got to get out of that cycle. Creature says it's true. Sometimes you just break your foot landing. Yeah. You might have a sneeze too early in the day, and then your back is telling you about it. You know what I mean? Before you've walked around, had a shower, and limbered up a little bit, you sneeze and you're like, oh, God, no. Oh my gosh. We've all been there. Wired Rope says, look at my last. Oh yeah, Wired Rope says it, or basketball, and breaks his foot. Yeah. Rope called you out. Big Fats, I had to break this guy down, says Ghost. Who'd you have to break down, Ghost? This is truly impressive, my guy. Like, really, when you break it all down, it's kind of sad, though. You play video games 73 hours a week. The gamer in me is like, heck yeah. The adult in me is like, bro, what the F are you doing? Do you know how much money you could have made? That's what I'm saying, man. If you applied the same rigor, if some people applied the same rigor and attention that they give me and clipping and yelling and screaming and making extra accounts come in here, like, take a week and funnel all that attention to something else, you'll be surprised what you could do. You'd be surprised what you could do. You could do a lot. You could do a lot. It's pulled my groin getting out of bed. Father time is real. Father time is real. I think it's bewildering. Oh, the patch notes are out. Thank you, Lone Wolf. I think it's bewildering to them why folks and people find me appealing and like my content. And it's because they can relate to me. They're like, well, he's 43. He's a dad. He's married. He doesn't want to play hard games anymore. A lot of people relate to that. They're like, yeah, I'm there. You might be 20 and you're there. You're like, I'm not 43, but I relate to that, man. I'm too busy for all that. You know? I ain't trying to stress out. You know what I mean? Oh, here's a question from Sven. We'll look at the patch notes for Borderlands here in a second. After the Halo announcement, when do you expect the release date for the PS5 launch? Well, here's the thing. They're clearly having a capture event right now for the Halo game. Yeah, that's what put us down this pathway, Marco. I played Ninja Gaiden 4 for an hour and a half, and I determined I'm not good enough to play it. And people are very angry about that. Do you want to know why they're angry? Because I didn't yell and scream and rage quit, and their clip is very tepid and boring. That's why they're mad. Like, that's what they were probably hoping for. It's a very tepid, very boring clip. It's like, here's this guy calmly explaining with a smile on his face why he's not good enough for this game. Like, they're really upset. Here's the thing with the Halo thing. There's a capture event happening right now. I don't think it'll be a shadow drop, Furious Pickle. I don't think so. I don't think you do a capture event for a shadow drop. Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense. Like, the capture event is so that people can come out with their preview footage and their preview commentary, and that's the beginning of a marketing cycle. So a shadow drop doesn't make much sense. You don't need a capture event for a shadow drop. Are you guys tracking with that logic? Like, why on earth would you fly people out and have them to a capture event so you can be like, check out Halo Combat Evolved Remake, and you can play it right now? It's like, well, then why'd you have people fly out for a capture event? Something's wrong with me. I'm 44 and I still play every game on the hardest difficulty. It's not just age, though, Christopher Burnett. I mean, I keep bringing up age, but like, I think Gene Park is older than me, and he loves games like that. He wants a game to beat him down, and he's going to fight back. That provokes something in him. He said that when he was talking about me, he was like, Reforge doesn't get supercharged by a game that beats you down. He's like, I do. So even if you are a little older and slower than you used to be, if it lights a fire in you, you're going to get there. Part of the reason I wouldn't quit playing Sekiro, part of the reason that I kept going against Ishin for 5 hours and beat him, has everything to do with the shirt I'm wearing right now. I had to prove, not just to myself, but just to anybody watching, that I wasn't going to quit. You can't beat somebody who won't quit. You can't. The guy who won't quit's going to win every time. And there was something almost spiritual going on when I was playing Sekiro. We had just rebranded the company. I was fighting to put everything back together again after losing everything. And I wasn't going to quit. So there was almost something spiritual, almost psychological going on. Well, when that's happening inside of you, you can keep going. I played Ninja Gaiden 4 the other day. I have no attachment to the franchise, no nostalgic attachment. There's nothing in me driving to keep going. And you know what? I don't have anything to prove anymore. Why do you think I'm wearing the shirt today? I got nothing to prove. I'm still here. I made it. I didn't make it like I arrived. Like, I made it through hell. I made it. I survived. So I don't have anything to prove anymore. So when a game does that, it beats me down, and I'm tempted to quit. You know what I do? I quit. I'm like, I don't have anything to prove. I don't have anything to prove to these weird sycophants on Twitter. I don't think I have to prove to them. They're weird. They're a bunch of weirdos. They're losers. Like, well, I don't have anything to prove to you. Like, there's nothing psychologically activating about for me. I'm like, brother, I'm just here to have fun. I'm just here to have fun, and this isn't fun. Oh, come on, another Xbox stream? I don't know if you've seen the headlines, but you should be saying, oh, come on, man, another Xbox headline. Like, I can't control the news cycle, dude. You know what I mean? I can't control the news cycle. If you don't like what's going on in the gaming news cycle, take it up with Xbox. Take it up with Xbox. What was the origin story of Say No to Rage? I started blogging about gaming, and that was just what I came up with, was Say No to Rage. Like, I was trying to help people enjoy games more and not rage at them, because I had like a very pivotal moment in Call of Duty where I was raging and raging and raging. And I played with the guy who was outraging me, and it was so unpleasant to listen to. It was like eye-opening. I was like, I don't want to be that guy. There was a guy that we were playing with. He was outraging me, and I was like, this is horrible to listen to. Now, I play with a bunch of real chill dudes who are always kind of baked, and they just didn't care that I'm like yelling my head off, in the middle of games. And it was eye-opening for me. And so that's when I came up with the idea of like, we should, say no to rage. Like, and so I started playing Call of Duty differently, and I started thinking about games differently. So that's like the birth of Say No to Rage. That's the birth of me thinking about games differently. That's like 11 years ago, 10 years ago, 10 or 11 years ago, I started blogging and making videos about games, and that was my mantra, was Say No to Rage. Now, that doesn't mean I still don't get frustrated and get angry. Like, people would always be like, say no to rage, bro. Like, when I'd be playing a game and I would get frustrated. The mantra Say No to Rage was born out of the idea that, like, if you're playing a game like that and it's absolutely making you flip out, rage out, the game isn't serving you, you're serving it, right? So, like, I just started changing my idea about it. Well, I ended up becoming like a Destiny streamer because that was the game I landed in, and that was the community I landed in, and 5 years of that, established me as a pretty sizable and growing channel. And that's, that was, 2015 to 2020. And then, dishonest, jealous individuals spread a bunch of stories about me, got me deplatformed, and then I rebuilt on YouTube. That's the Cliff's Notes. This guy's name would drop on Destiny forums constantly. Yeah. Let's keep going with the questions. You guys have submitted a lot of questions about the topic of Xbox and the ABK deal backfiring. Make sure you guys are hitting the like button. Try to get us to 400 likes. Let's get back on topic. We've kind of wandered, and that's okay. But let's get back on topic here. Jaster says, do you think Microsoft is willing to change their strategy again if this whole handhold thing doesn't work out, or if it's their last straw before bowing out? I don't think their goal is for the handheld thing to quote-unquote work out. I think they're just establishing a presence in the market that's multifaceted. I've continued to call it a cascade of access points. So if you look at this through the lens, we think Satya Nadella is basically in charge now. We think Microsoft is in charge now, okay? Think of it through that lens for just a second. If that's how if you're looking at it through his lens, you see the console as wasted effort. You see exclusives as wasted effort. You're like, why are we doing that? We should just be putting the content everywhere, making it really, really easy and really, really accessible. I also think Satya would come in and say, hey, we need to stop investing so much time and capital in our own hardware. Let's partner with other people to make hardware to just make it easier to get in to our ecosystem. Like that's what we're talking about. We're all about making things very accessible. We're all about making things easy to get into. So if you're looking at it from Satya's perspective, Satya is saying this doesn't help us. A handheld that they don't really have a lot of skin in the game on and haven't spent a ton of money on, somebody else is making it. That's just another access point to the ecosystem. Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like that if you're Satya, this all makes perfectly good sense. Do you remember there was the one FTC, document. It gets leaked. And Satya was basically like, let's just make a controller. And you just access the cloud. Like, that's Satya's vision of gaming. You've got to see that. This man said, if I had my way, there'd be no exclusives, and why don't we just make a controller? And people can access our ecosystem through the cloud. And then you look at everything Microsoft, and then you look at everything Xbox is doing, and you're like, makes sense. I get it. Yeah. This all makes sense now. He's literally getting his way. Satya is getting his way. They're just creating low-cost access points to their ecosystem, and they're leaning into the software strategy of just like publishing their games everywhere. He got his way. He's the captain now. If you look at things through Phil's lens, like if you think like Phil Spencer is still in charge or still calling the shots, like that's like, I just think that's a bygone era. I think that's over. I think that's over and done with. I think Satya 100% is now the man driving the ship. And that's why you have to look at everything through that lens. Sorry, I was sending something to Creature. Funny little coincidence in the numbers there. I thought that was just funny. Nothing of significance, just funny. Now you have to opt out of Copilot for Xbox on PC. Yeah, I mean, if you look, I mean, in Tim Dog's got a screenshot. This is just another wave. Amy, that moron, wants 30% margins and said, like, this is a screenshot of a DM, okay? This is a screenshot of a DM from someone named Ben in July that says that stupid moron wants 30% margins. I mean, so clearly something's been going on in the background with Microsoft wanting bigger returns on their gaming investments. Wired Rope says, so was Lena Khan a lying pony? I do think it was interesting that Lena Khan said similarly what a lot of us said, this isn't going to lead to good things. Knew the margins before Schreier. Yeah, I feel like we had this information a while ago, did we not? I feel like we had the 30% thing a while ago. I might be dreaming, but I thought somebody else threw out the 30% number a while ago as well. Maybe I'm misremembering. I don't know. There's been a lot of rumors and leaks and whispers. I could be misremembering. Dudes are pulling receipts on corporations is wild. The internet's in rare form today. WGC says, what do you think would be going on with Microsoft right now if ABK had never happened? Man, this is a really good question. I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know because Jez said he heard it rumored over the summer. Okay. Shutting down. That's where my mind went, FCAT. Like, I feel like Xbox has just been on borrowed time for a really long time. We may have said a few things about this. People may not have listened. Yo, what's good, Brian? Yeah, like, I think they probably would have shut him down. I think they would have shut him down. I think they'd have been like, listen. Like, imagine ABK doesn't happen. We know what the results were of ZeniMax. It didn't move the needle. It didn't cause a significant change for the brand, an uptick in hardware sales, like none of that. They had record number of people activating and signing up for Starfield. Do you know what else set a record for people signing up for Starfield? You know what else set a record for people signing up for Game Pass? Call of Duty set a record for people signing up for Game Pass. And you know what happened with Call of Duty? They lost a bunch of money. So I'm imagining their internal analysis of the ZeniMax acquisition and putting Starfield on Game Pass. There were probably similar questions about, like, do you really think this is working? Because it probably wasn't. It probably wasn't, because how many people were churning and burning for big titles like that? Black Ops 6 still made that back? No. The Game Pass price increase, according to reports, was a result of Black Ops 6. They lost like $300 million, and that was one of the main impetuses for the recent price hike that happened again. So I don't know. I think they would have had a similar response to Starfield. They'd have been like, you did that. We had record number of people signing up, and we ultimately lost money. So I'm speculating here. We're imagining like another timeline where they don't buy ABK. If they don't buy ABK, the game still made money. No. We're passing in the night, FCAT. Nobody is saying that Black Ops 6 didn't make money. What we're saying is they assessed the money lost by putting it on Game Pass. You can lose money while still making a profit. If you come to me and you tell me I generated $1 million last year, my profit was $250,000, and I'm like, that's pretty good. And you're like, we did make a bad business decision. We took a bath and we lost about $300,000. Oh, so what you're telling me is you could have made about $500,000 in profit, and you didn't. You made $250,000 in profit. You can lose money while still being profitable, and that's essentially what happened. Like, yeah, Call of Duty made money. It was a profitable game. It's one of the biggest games out there. It's a Leviathan. It's monolithic in the market, and yet they lost money, and Xbox has to pay the piper because Microsoft's like, what are you doing? And a 5-bomb comes in from Brian King. Thank you, sir. 358 on the week. Guys, this weekly goal, we launched a brand new segment. Friday nights is now called Gaming News Tonight, and it's my wife and my wife reacting to gaming news. It is a publicly viewable stream, but only members can talk. It's a great reason to be a member. It's a great reason to be here. So consider gifting or signing up or renewing. Any of those things help. If you can't do any of those things, hit the like button, hit subscribe, talk in the chat. That might increase your chances of getting one. No, Damien, your question did not get submitted. You guys really, really struggle with this. Nothing can be attached to the word question. Nothing. Not a comma, not a period, not a hyphen. It has to literally be exclamation point question and then a space, or exclamation point Q and then a space. If you attach anything to the word question, you're using a command that doesn't exist. You're altering it. It's the same as misspelling the word question, like you're not putting in the appropriate command. You can't put anything after the word question. I mean, you can put your question. You have to put a space. You have to. Nightbot's not going to recognize it. Smooth Jazz says, how is the FTC not able to take action now that it's been proven that Microsoft blatantly lied about studio closures, etc.? But that's not what the FTC is there for. The FTC is there to do enforcement, or, in this case, they were trying to file an injunction. They can't turn around and be like, hey, we said you were going to lay off people and you laid off people, so now you're in trouble. Like, they're not like a principal where they can like come and like punitively punish you for like how you managed your business. Now, if you do things that fall under their jurisdiction of enforcement, then yes, they're going to come knocking. Laying people off doesn't fall under their jurisdiction of enforcement. They can't be like, hey, you're not allowed to do that. Xbox and Microsoft would say, we have a fiduciary duty to our shareholders, and this is how we're maximizing margins right now. Leave us alone. As long as there's no law or regulation being transgressed, then, unwinding is extremely difficult and unlikely. Yeah, that's not a thing that's in the cards, People always ask what can be done after it's too late. Well, it's over. It's over and done with. The deal's done. There you go, Damien. That should work. Nightbot should grab that. There you go. That's how it works. Milk Dud says, are you going to play Bloodlines 2 or Outer Worlds 2? I don't think so. I don't really have a strong interest in Outer Worlds 2. It's scoring fine. The more I saw of it, the more I realized, like, that's just not a game for me. If they want to send, like, listen, they with Keymailer, they sent me a Ninja Gaiden code, okay? And people get really upset when you get, like, a code and you don't, quote-unquote, finish the game. You understand when they send a code like that, that's a form of marketing. They just want people playing the game when it comes out. So that works in their favor. Even if you only play the game for an hour, that's still an efficient use of their code. Like, they're okay with that. Nobody accepts a code on Keymailer and agrees to play the entire game or review the game. All you agree to do is do coverage. And they're totally fine with that. I don't think a lot of people understand how this works. So if I were to get a code for the Outer Worlds 2, which is what happened with Ninja Gaiden, they offered me a code. I would agree to do coverage. I would obviously acknowledge that I was given a code, and I would cover it. I'm not going to go drop full price on that game because I know I'm going to play it for an hour and probably never go back. It's not my jam. It's not my kind of game. Now, that can make for a great showcase because me playing an hour of the Outer Worlds 2, you're going to get, honest feedback. I'm like, hey, you know what? This is actually pretty good. Or, hey, the gunplay actually feels pretty awesome or whatever. Like, that I'm not going to be giving you some, like, exaggerated kind of feedback. You guys should also know by now, too, that, like, I'm not being critical on a game just for the sake of being critical. I feel like I'm usually pretty measured in how I react to things. Even a game like Indiana Jones, I'm like, looks good, amazing art direction, great voice acting, solid game. Not really my cup of tea, not really my kind of game. So, at this point, there are so many games coming out. If I'm not interested in something, I don't think it serves much of a purpose to like force myself to play it. It doesn't serve much of a purpose. Does that make sense? It's like, I don't know. I like playing games for y'all. I feel like I play a lot of games and showcase a lot of games on the channel for you guys as an audience because I know you guys want that. But sometimes you just have to let me say, yeah, I'm good. Like I played Chronos: The New Dawn. That I knew wasn't going to be my cup of tea, but I played it anyway. I obviously played Silksong. I also played Metal Eden and Borderlands and Ghosts of Tsushima. I played Lost Soul Aside. I played Metal Gear. I played Shinobi Art of Vengeance. I played Gears of War Reloaded. I played Hell Is Us. I feel like I've showcased a lot of games this year. I played Echoes of the End, Mafia: The Old Country. I have a review of Wu Chang and gameplay from Wu Chang Fallen Feathers, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Eric Solm, The Stolen Dream, Death Stranding 2, Rematch, The Alters, Mind's Eye, Mario Kart, Tainted Grail, Blades of Fire, Doom: The Dark Ages, Revenge of the Savage Planet, The Midnight Walk, Ark Raiders, Towerborn, The Days Gone Remaster, Expedition 33, Oblivion Remastered, Blueprints, South of Midnight, First Berserker Berserker Kazan, Assassin's Creed Shadows, Split Fiction, Monster Hunter Wilds, Avowed, Stalker 2. Anybody claiming I don't play games or showcase games, I mean, that was just me scrolling through the playlist of gameplay on this channel. Folks that are disappointed, I get it. I feel like I give you a ton of gameplay coverage on the channel. Sometimes I'm just going to say, yeah, I don't want to do that one. You know, I know there are people that were disappointed with me being like, I don't want to play Battlefield 6 right now because I want to play it later. I don't want to play it for an hour and then put it down. I actually own Battlefield 6 and I want to play the campaign, but I've got too many games that I'm playing through right now. I didn't want to like do the 1 hour stream and then be like, well, I guess I'll come back to this another time. I want to play that game fresh from the beginning and then push all the way to the end. Does that make sense? So like, I know there are people disappointed that I didn't play Battlefield 6. So this is the just chatting category. Yeah, what would you say I'm doing right now? Do you think they'll ever shut down the Halo Studios, says Wolf Saint? It doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound good, you know. There's a veteran that left the company that's saying some stuff and talking kind of wild. So, not here for gameplay. Oh, I get what you're saying, L. Davis. There was some frustration in the audience when I didn't play Battlefield 6. That was a decision that was self-focused. I was like, yeah, I made that decision for me because I'm excited about Battlefield 6 and I didn't want to play it for an hour and then put it down. I want to play it when I know I've got time to finish it. I'm 60 hours into Yote and 40 hours into Borderlands, and I'm also playing Ball Pit. And I'm also playing a Painkiller with my wife. So like I'm trying to balance it all. And not like burn out either on games. So Buckeye Plays says, how do you think the pretty solid success of Xbox first party and Game Pass day and date games this year will impact Xbox moving to the next 1 to 2 years given this new information? Okay, hang on. How do you think the pretty solid success of Xbox first party and Game Pass day and date games this year will impact? Your presumption that they've had success is unfounded. We don't know that they've had success with these games on Game Pass this year. I think this question's asserting something that we don't know. Like, if this year was such a success for Game Pass, I don't know if they would have been so willing to boost the price of Ultimate by 50%. Does that make sense? Like, I think the presumption that they've had solid success with first party and Game Pass day and date games this year, I'm like, I don't think that's founded. If that's the case, they wouldn't have raised the price of Ultimate by 50%. Oh, you're talking about the critical success of the games? I mean, I've said this for a while. I'm concerned about basically every piece of property that they own. I am. Microsoft's history and how things have gone. Let me just show you a clip. It's real handsome and a really smart guy. He really knows what he's talking about. Let me show you this clip, okay? Because I think this is kind of why I look at basically everything under their ownership. And I feel concerned. Oh, hang on. Okay. Let me pause my music. Okay, let's see what this handsome, intelligent fellow has to say. Clearer to me that... Why is it so quiet? It's never been clearer to me that Microsoft has been slowly killing Xbox the entire time. From terrible contract policies that had half of the 343 staff leaving every 18 months while they tried to cobble together Halo Infinite, to a corporate climate that clearly drives talent away, with a continued stream of directors and creative directors as well as staff leaving the studios. Everwild lost its creative director. Halo Infinite lost 2 directors in 2 years. Forza Horizon 5's creative director and several team members left to start a studio. Perfect Dark lost its game director and roughly half of its staff. And all of this has led to numerous projects being rebooted, experiencing slowness to come to market, or being described as being in a rough state. Now, hang on just a second. This video has aged quite well because, two of those games are gone and canceled. Perfect Dark and Everwild are already gone and canceled. So I think having concern and worry about everything under Microsoft's ownership is completely valid. Anybody says this is doom and gloom, anybody that tries to couch this as like console warring or Xbox bad, they're not listening to what I'm saying. Like, you can clearly see, like, there is a history of problems, and 2 of the games listed here are already gone. They're already gone. Mike on a mic with a $5 super chat says, "Who is this?" I'm going to go sub to him real quick. Let's listen to the next part. This is where creativity comes to die. Underneath Microsoft ownership, their corporate policies are designed for utilitarian software like Windows or Microsoft Office, not creative enterprises like video games. Microsoft created a sinking ship, and they intend to save it by turning it into something completely different. Their strategy over the years actually hasn't changed. It's just now in overdrive. They've always preferred buying studios and games instead of investing in their own IPs. And that strategy has hit such a size and scope that Xbox is no more. We are now entering into the era of Microsoft gaming. That's it. That's the facts. That was a year ago. And I was like, if you look at the history and you look at the pattern, you should be concerned for everything they own. We're in the era of Microsoft gaming now. This is where we are. This is where we've landed. They're in charge. They're calling the shots. What's this guy saying? Since Xbox channels like this and this are now shifting the blame for Xbox's ruin to Amy Hood and Sarah Bond, both women, by the way, instead of the actual person responsible, Phil Spencer. Oh, this guy says even saw Reforge Gaming saying Microsoft was the reason for ABK. Yeah, because if you look at the actual paper trail, yeah, they were against it. I'm sorry. If you look at the actual paper trail, they weren't against it. I misspoke. Sorry, I'm reading while talking, and I shouldn't do that. If you look at the actual paper trail, Microsoft went after ABK because ABK was weakened in the market. Nobody was against it, but Microsoft was the initiator. They were like, "Yeah, look at them. They're a prime target for acquisition." Like, that's how they operate. What is this? No. That's how they operate. Like, I don't think Phil Spencer was like, I've got a great idea. Let's spend $70 billion so that our operating costs are through the roof. I can't think that Phil had that in his mind. Now, at one point, he does talk about how, like, it would be like a career-defining moment to acquire Nintendo, but I don't know if at that point, is he pie in the skying? Is he just like, oh yeah, that'd be crazy, right? That'd be crazy, dog. Yeah, get Nintendo. I don't know. The whole acquisition of ABK feels like Microsoft from its head to its toes. You discuss your thoughts about Microsoft going after Warner Brothers? I don't think there's any evidence that they're going to go after Warner Brothers. Look at what they're looking at right now. Look at the Bloomberg report that we just read today, Hadigan. Microsoft has a heavy amount of scrutiny on Xbox as a division right now because of ABK. You think they want to go spend more money? I don't think so. I don't. I think there's already big companies lining up anyway because they want the property for TV shows and movies. I don't think Xbox and Microsoft are a prime candidate, like licking their chops for Warner Brothers. I think Warner Brothers is going to get scooped up by a media conglomerate that wants the movies and the TV shows. They want the IP for that. You know, whether it's Amazon or somebody else. NBC Universal will get the buyout. Yeah, somebody like that's going to snag it. I don't think, because people are like, well, what about Sony? I'm like, listen, I think Sony likes to have property like that because they push into entertainment with movies and TV shows as well. But I don't think Sony's going to want to write that check. I don't think Sony's going to want to write that check. It's going to be a pretty hefty ticket price. And I think PlayStation and Sony have taken more strategic approaches. They're going for like smaller licensing deals of IP and stuff. They're not going to want to buy Warner Brothers. And I certainly don't think Xbox is going to want to buy Warner Brothers either. When is the Halo event tomorrow, says Christopher Burnett. It's in the afternoon. We'll probably just have to do a waiting room for it, because that's all anybody's going to be talking about or thinking about. Sven with a question says, as an add-on to my previous question, what are the two surefire announcements? Obviously, the Halo Combat Evolved remake. What's the second? Halo free-to-play BR PvP. I would think they're just going to show off Halo at what they have so far, or maybe they show off certain affinities thing. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I would imagine it'll be something like that, though. It'll be something like that. It'll be something where, they trot out something so far, or a gameplay sample, or, something that they've built to showcase some kind of progress that they've made, I would think. Yeah, the Halo announcement's going to be in the afternoon. So we'll cover it. We're going to be covering it tomorrow. But it'll be late in the day. Something in beta next week. A beta for what? The Combat Evolved? Maybe that's the other announcement? I honestly don't know. Gameplay and missions. Hang on, I'm looking at the patch notes for Borderlands to see specializations, UI and text, visuals, audio, player experience, miscellaneous. It doesn't say anything about crashes. Hang on. Yeah, there's nothing in here about crashes. I was maybe it literally was that I needed to clear the cache on my PlayStation. I don't know. Damien says, if Microsoft are willing and want to sell the Xbox brand, what companies out there would be interested in acquiring it? As far as companies that would want to buy Xbox, I don't know. I mean, Google, maybe? Amazon? It would need to be, they'd need to be big. That'd really stick in the side of their, in their ribs if it was like Apple. Yeah, I don't know. I would love Apple buying Xbox. It would never happen. It had to be somebody with a big checkbook. It had to be Amazon. It had to be Google. It had to be Apple. Does it mention performance? I didn't see anything about performance. It was all tweaks to the game. There are murmurs not too long ago about a beta for a multi-plat Halo game coming soon. With this reveal at the beginning of the event, and this is the largest Halo event to date, I think they will have a beta playable on the showroom floor. I could see that because there's a capture event happening right now. I could totally see that. There's a capture event happening right now. Who would taint themselves with the Xbox brand? They have a lot of property. They have a lot of good property. I don't know. I think somebody. That's what I'm saying. I think the best thing for Xbox going forward would be to not be owned by Microsoft. It wouldn't surprise me at all if you see a lot of bleed green guys suddenly take that. And I don't say bleed green as a pejorative, by the way. People always want to exaggerate the things that I say. Like, a lot of the guys that are diehard Xbox fans and they're kind of still holding out hope, I think a lot of them are going to start to be like, man, you got to get away from Microsoft if it's possible. Like, if at all possible, you got to get away from Microsoft. Outer Worlds 2. According to Digital Foundry, technically solid with good performance on Xbox consoles, but PlayStation needs some work. PC review will be with optimized settings will come soon. We need to keep in mind that Xbox is not for sale and never will be, says Creature. Microsoft will bury it on a shelf in a basement before they let it go flourish under somebody else's banner. Pipe dreaming. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I think that they would never sell. They're more likely to shutter something and to let it just sit somewhere in a dungeon than to let somebody else have it. Now, I could see them selling off studios, maybe. If they feel like they could make a pretty good profit off of it, I feel like they could sell studios potentially. But it's hard to know. My wife is doing something and making the house smell amazing. Overwatch 2 is amazing. Such a great name. Do you think there'll be a sale on the Ally X during the holidays? Highly doubtful. They're not going to subsidize that thing at all. Mick Pratt, is Microsoft done acquiring game studios? I think so. I think they're done. I think their posture, I think this report from Bloomberg, I think that it makes a very, very clear picture that they are not in the business of increasing their operation costs right now. That's the last thing that they would do. That is the last thing that they would do. I don't see it. I don't. Why would Xbox do a Halo beta the same week as their big first-party games release? Wouldn't that kill the Outer Worlds 2 launch? I mean, I think that's a fair observation. But I also think that I feel like they've done similar things before, haven't they? Haven't they, like, stepped on things? I don't know. It's hard to know. Guys, make sure you've hit the like button. Try to get us to 400 likes, man. It was a nice, strong turnout today. It was Expedition 33. Yeah, I guess that wasn't their game. So that kind of makes sense. With Oblivion. Yeah. How much crossover is there between Outer Worlds 2 and Halo? Yeah, I kind of agree with what Lone Wolf and Eugene are saying. There's not a lot of crossover there. So, yeah. So if you guys haven't hit the like button, make sure to hit the like button. Okay, so the question command is completely empty now. You guys can submit questions as subs and members. It can be off topic now. Famed Guardian says there's some big Xbox people on X with nothing to say today. I mean, I feel kind of bad for them to a certain extent. Like, I think some of them probably deserve the egg on their face. I think some of them are just like, man, we've just been trying to have good vibes about the brand, and it's really hard right now. If you're just trying to have good vibes and you're like, man, like, it's really interesting too, because I said this earlier this year. I said, this is going to be the strongest year for Game Pass ever. And I said, it will also be one of the most pivotal years for the brand because they're just completely and fundamentally changing. So, like, when they finally have the year that they kept promising people, a year where Game Pass is just getting obliterated with great games and quality, it finally shows up 5 years into the gen. It's also the year where it's not a great time to be an Xbox fan. It's like you finally got the feast you were promised on Game Pass, and they raise Ultimate by 50%. You finally get that cadence of games that you were promised by Phil, and they're just fumbling every ball. They're fumbling balls that you didn't even know they were holding. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, good golly, what in the world are y'all doing? There are guys that deserve to kind of wear this, to be like, listen, y'all cheered for the Activision deal. You acted like this thing was going to be amazing and good for the industry and good for the studios. You were wrong. Now you're banging on this drum about how this is where things are going, and this is an Xbox and exclusives are antiquated. Yeah, well, you're wrong again. You're wrong again. You're going to be seen to be wrong in the coming years as two other companies continue to go with the same strategy and have great success. I don't know why the question command is saying that, Wolf. Wait. Yeah, Wolf Saints question finally got through. Your first time submitting it, it didn't get through. Are you interested in Project TAL or Cinder City, a.k.a. Project LLL? Man, I'm going to be honest with you. I saw footage of the game. Dude, it just looks super generic. It's like, I don't know what to say. It doesn't evoke any, it doesn't promote? No, it doesn't provoke anything in me. It just looks super generic. I didn't see anything about it that looked like exciting. I don't know. I think the era of the live service shooter is entering into a new stage. Arc Raiders is probably going to play a role there. Oh, Project TAL is a different game. So you're asking me about two different games. I was just talking about Project LLL, which now has a new game. Project TAL. I've not seen this. This was announced an hour ago. Yeah, I've not seen this. Or maybe we have seen this. This is Unreal 5. I feel like we've seen this. It's like all cinematics. Oh, okay, we're actually getting some in-game stuff now. That looks like it would hurt. Oh! I'm gonna fix the sound. Give me just 1 second. I'm gonna fix the sound. It's all delayed and off. This'll fix it. It'll blip one more time, but it's driving me nuts. It's like it's like Elden Ring, Black Myth Wukong, and Monster Hunter had a baby. There's a lot going on there. It's like Elden Ring, Black Myth Wukong, and Monhun had a baby. Is this one of the Project games? It's a single-player open-world action RPG. How is that single player? I kept seeing other people helping you. I guess they're companions. Throughout the adventure, you'll fight alongside distinctive in-game ally characters. There you go. Each with unique abilities, personalities, and combat styles, who grow with you and influence how the story unfolds. There you go. So not quite like Monhun, because you're not playing. You can't play with other people. Yeah. I thought that looked good. What was the other one you asked me about? Let me just show this to you. What is it? Cinder City or whatever? Is that what they're calling it now? This was like formerly Project LLL, right? 12 minutes of Cinder City gameplay. Yeah, this was like formerly Project LLL. Hang on. I'm skipping all the cinematics. I mean, who freaking cares? Here you go.
Transmitted nearby. To update the data, we need to block that signal first.
Can you track its source?
It's coming from inside the city area ahead. I've picked up several hostile forces. Proceed carefully.
Like, there's nothing wrong with this, but I'm just like, I just think this looks generic to me. Yeah, like his movement, he looks like he's got a stick up his rear end. He's so stiff. This is what became a Project LLL. Yeah, well, sorry, y'all. Yeah, they can hold the L. I think it looks bad. I think that looks bad. I think that looks so generic and rough. I mean, I know it's early, so maybe it could end up looking better, but like, I don't know. I remember the original footage and concept of Project LLL looked so like cool, and that's like, that's just generic. Just some guy running around very stiffly shooting at people. I mean, there's not much. I don't know. What is this? Okay, let's take some more questions. And yeah, Project Pew Pew Pew. Question from Sneaky Wolf: if another company was to buy Xbox, what would come? What would it come with any IP, or does Microsoft own all of that? I mean, they own all of that. Like, again, I don't know. I don't think they're going to sell the entire division. I could see them potentially selling some of the property of the studios. People are putting Game of the Year on my Arc. I'm sorry, not my Arc Raiders. Kirby Air Riders stream. That's great. People are already spamming Game of the Year on the Kirby Air Riders stream. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see, boys. I think they would sell everything except for ABK and Bethesda ZeniMax. Yeah, I don't feel like that's a conversation. Friday Night Madam game. Yeah, the RV There Yet. The problem with RV There Yet is I would need 2 PCs set up, and it wouldn't be very convenient. It's a good Hilly game. Because, Hilly would play it. It's online co-op. So, I don't know if you guys saw this. This is like the perfect Hilly game. It's called RV There Yet. So, it's co-op game in an RV. It's perfect. So stupid. Oh my gosh. Hilly says, I'm driving. Hey, I am not that bad of a driver, okay? I'm not great, but I'm also not that bad either, sir. Is this made by the Peak developers? Oh, I'm not actually sure. It's by Nugget Entertainment. That's all I've seen them make on Steam when I click on their name. Have you seen the game as like a John Wick Resident Evil spin-off? I have not, JC. The OA says, when Microsoft inevitably leaves this market, do you think it'll be a seismic event, or such time people will just shrug it off and move on? I don't think they're ever going to leave the market. I don't agree with that assessment. I don't agree with that assessment. I don't think they're going to leave the market. I think they're always going to have some type of a presence, even if they're just a publisher. Like, even if they're just a publisher, I think they're still going to be in the market. Hilly will play anything? Not necessarily. Hilly will play anything. Wait a minute. Is that... I feel like have I interacted? Reviews also catch my work at IGN. Erica, have we interacted before? I feel like I've read your content or something on my channel. I feel like we have. Erica, IGN. Have I read your reviews or something? Why do I know your name? You don't have a Twitter linked on your... We have. Erica's for the win. Why do I know? Also catch my work at IGN. Why do I know your name? I watched your Elden Ring Rage. Oh, that's what it was. I didn't know you... Do you write for IGN? Or are you goofing around with that in your header? That's right. That's right. I don't do Twitter anymore. Heck no. Oh, it's a wasteland, isn't it? Was it Ubisoft that created a holding company to allow for an investment? That's right. Air cuts for the win. That's what it is. Yeah, that was Ubisoft that did that. Yes, Zubair. I make vids there now. I did not know that. When did that happen? I've said for a while that IGN frustrates me with how they handle certain things and how they talk about certain things, because I feel like they have good people there, like Stella and others that I think do good work, and then they have people that do like real like bad faith stuff, and it just irritates me. He joined you for Lonely Mountain. He would play anything. Hey, Lonely Mountain was fun. It was fun. All right, here's what we need to do. We've been going for 2 hours and 37. Okay, so I can give you 20. Let's do this. Let's set the timer. What time is it? Yeah. We'll go till 1:20. All right? And I let you guys extend. Hang on. That's not right. There we go. Okay. There we go. We're going to go to green room in 18 minutes unless you guys extend. You guys know the deal. Every 5 extends. You can do 5 bombs or singles. Either way, it doesn't matter. Every 5 extends. Thank you guys so much for all the support this week. Don't forget that Friday night is now Gaming News Tonight. My wife reacts to Gaming News. It's hysterical. We do slip in one fake story to see if she can pick it out. We do that. We put in one fake story. So make sure you're here for that. Friday night is now a public stream, but only members can talk. So I'm going to tune into you tomorrow or Monday after the Halo thing. Okay. Sounds good. Appreciate you, Erica. I've been wanting to do a day with a hot mic on the show where people can jump into the Discord. We would give you permissions and you could talk. That could be fun as well. I feel like I remember, I forget what I was watching. It was a clip of you talking about how I actually, Reforge actually plays games or something. And I was like, you've got a good mic and a good voice. I always like having people on the show that have good equipment. Tim Dog says, I have no hard feelings to anyone. The truth is now coming out, and now I will let it fall as it may. Just know that Satya is making $100 million a year while all the people he laid off are struggling. Much more to the story in Xbox, but today is their day of reckoning, he says. People will finally see 30% is laughable and pretty much insane when Sony is at, 14%. Think about that. It's crazy. It's crazy work. Hot mic would be cool. Just make sure you got mods helping you. No. I would only bring people on that I trust. I wouldn't bring people on that are going to suddenly start saying the N-word or something. Like Brap jumped on the one time. Or you could jump on. Or I don't know. Jez Corden stops by every now and again. Tom Henderson stopped by the one time. Folks that I trust that would be have a modicum amount of professionalism and not jump on and try and cause trouble. Yeah. Halo. Here we go. Music. Gaming Forever. Music and Gaming Forever submitted a question. Can Cinder City, formerly Project LL, fill the gap for players that are missing from games like The Division, Warframe, etc., or will it just become another First Ascended? Here's the thing, man. I really, really think that if you're trying to do a shooter live service game, you're going to have to bring more than just run into an area, shoot people, get some stuff, and go to next area and shoot people. We're going to need some innovation. We're going to need some innovation. Do you trust little old me? Yeah, I mean, people that have been around for a while, I would trust that you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't hop in and cause trouble. But you're gonna need innovation. You're not gonna be like, yeah, here's just another game. When's Laura Fryer coming on? Oh, I'd love to have Laura Fryer on. I found her before anybody else did. She's hot now. She's a hot ticket item now. When I found her channel, she had 15,000 subs. I was like, man, she knows what she's talking about. She's at 70,000 or something now. She's up there in sub count now. I'm sure she'll have a video about this. Over the weekend, I bet. I bet she has one over the weekend. Yeah, she's at 67,000. And her Game Pass, My Thoughts on Xbox Game Pass, has almost 100,000 views, man. Just out there crushing it. But yeah, in the realm of live service shooters, I just think you're going to have to bring some heat. You're going to have to bring some heat with innovation. You're going to have to bring something more than just run around and shoot stuff. You could probably get Ibarra on. That would be fun. That would be really fun to get Mike Ibarra. Is Finger Guy back yet? No. He's never returned. VOA says follow-up. They won't leave because of the optics, or they'll find a sweet spot they can operate on. They're not going to leave because they make too much money. They're not going to leave because they make too much money. They're not going to leave. They own Minecraft. They own Call of Duty. They own Candy Crush. Homie, I don't think they're ever going to fully exit gaming. I just don't think so. You don't own some of the biggest franchises in the world and find your way out. I think they're exiting certain endeavors. Would you play that Dispatch game? I wasn't really interested in it. It looked cool, but it just didn't seem like something that I would play. Sega didn't leave. Yeah, if Sega didn't leave, then Microsoft is certainly not leaving. We need like 10 more likes on the video, y'all. Let's get to 400 likes. We're going to go to the Green Room in 13 minutes. Green Room now takes place in the Discord. It's a great reason to be a member, so consider clicking join. You can also extend the stream by gifting or renewing. Every 5 adds to the timer. I've been letting you guys do that. It helps us hit the goal, and then it helps extend the stream. You guys, I put the stream in your hands. And thank you for the support today. We already did our Kirby Air Riders co-stream. Sega's a good example. Yeah, if Sega, managed to stick around, I think Microsoft will. I just think there's too much money. Shareholders especially would be like, you can't leave. There's too much money to be made. I'm having a bit of a water problem with SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom. It's flickering like a broke TV on water on my PS5. I have a 55 and a 4K. Any ideas? I don't have a clue. What would I do? It sounds like an issue with the game. Maybe HDR needs to be turned off? I have no idea, brother. There's not a lot of troubleshooting you can do with a console. If a game is doing something like that, you're just kind of waiting for them to patch it or fix it? That doesn't make sense. Flickering like a broke TV. He's saying it's just the water. The water's doing it. That sounds like the game is messing up. Yeah, update your latest PS5 drivers. HDMI cable going bad? Yeah, I mean, you could try a different HDMI cable, but if it's just the water, that sounds kind of weird. Just the water? I mean, the way he phrased it is kind of funny. I'm having a bit of a water problem with SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom. It's flickering like a broke TV on water only on PS5. No, I'm sorry. He worded it very clearly. I didn't read that part. TV doesn't support VR. I don't think it sounds like a VRR problem. It sounds like a problem with the game. Like something's not right. I had a weird lighting glitch in Yote the other night. It quickly went away, but something weird was going on with the fire. As the sun was setting, the lights from like these little like fire, there was like torches. It was like somebody was pointing spotlights at me. It was literally like somebody had like flashlights out in the game and they were pointing them right at me. 10 seconds or so went by and it went away. It was something to do with the time of day. The time of day was changing from like dusk to night, and it just made the torches act really, really funky. I mean, I played for 50 or 60 hours. That was the only time something like that happened. It just, after a while, fixed itself. A question from Christopher Burnett. Not really a question, but I'd love to see Xbox sell Halo Studios with the Halo IP to Sony and let Blue Point Games or Guerrilla Games have a crack at making a Halo game. It'll never happen. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Tim Dog says his phone's going crazy with notifications. People might have more context to me and why I did what I did. Just want everyone to realize, though, that not all of Xbox is rotten. The people at the top are tone deaf and clueless, but many good people at Xbox. Hilly says ban him for submitting that question. Sell Halo to Sony and Sony give it back to Bungie. Man, Bungie is a shell of their former self. I don't think you want them in charge of anything. That's not... I don't think you want Bungie touching Halo either. Because, like, if you think about it, like, the people who made Halo, like, back in the day, they're not even around anymore. Like at Bungie, it's a complete. It's basically a completely different company at this point. I mean, it's not like Bungie has the secret recipe to like save Halo, because Bungie's dealing with their own problems of like making Marathon enjoyable, getting Marathon to a state where people want to play it. And they're also dealing with, you know, the death of Destiny. Yeah, I don't think you'd want them managing Halo. Yeah, a lot of people that helped make Destiny 1 aren't even there anymore. It's just a very different company at this point. That doesn't mean that Bungie doesn't still have talented people there and people that could do good things. But it certainly is not the company that it once was. Yeah, you're very much dealing with like a ship of Theseus, you know, sort of a conundrum. A friend of mine played his PS5 for years with his old PS3 HDMI cable because he's lazy. The cable was HDMI 1.0. When he finally changed it, it was like watching a guy see for the first time. Golly. All joking aside, I don't think there's a dev that can do it unless they recruit old Bungie devs. I think the best studio to handle Halo is id Software. I've said that for a very long time. I don't think id Software would want to do it, but I think they would be the best. If they were passionate about it and they really wanted to do it, and you had them just soak in classic Halo for like a month. Just play it, live it, breathe it, smell it, and then be like, all right, bring that into the modern era. I think they could do it. What they did with Doom was, I think, remarkable. I think they could do it. But again, I'm not wanting them to make Halo like Doom. They took the spirit of Doom and brought it into the modern era. I think that's what they need to do with Halo. That's what they need to do with Halo. The Halo loyalists hate when I talk Halo because they're like, no, it's got to be true to Halo, and you don't want to leave behind this and that and da-da-da. I'm like, no, if you make a Halo for Halo fans, you might as well not even bother. No offense to Halo fans, but like the game needs to transcend into the 21st century. Like you've got to arrive to where we are now. No matter how big of a Halo fan you are, you've got to do more than just like, here's another Halo that feels like Halo. I mean, Halo Infinite felt an awful lot like Halo, and I think people that have already made up their mind about the game were just like, yeah, I'm cool. I've played that already. I don't like it. It needs to have something about it that feels new, fresh, and innovative. And I'm not just talking about like sprinting and ADS either. I'm talking about like actual, modern transcendence. All right, guys, we're in the final 4-minute countdown. We'll see if anybody saves your bacon today and extends the stream. Yesterday, somebody dropped a 20 bomb, which is 2 minutes every 5. So that was a pretty good extension yesterday. We'll see if anybody saves your bacon today and extends the stream. This is why Halo games have failed since Halo 4, because they haven't been Halo games. The vision from 343 was not on brand, and they failed to ship full games every single time. I would argue that they shipped a bunch of half measures, bro. Like, I don't think they did enough. Green Room is coming. Yep. If you guys don't extend, we're going to Green Room. Can we get 10 more likes on YouTube? Double check that it saved your like. Sometimes that like count can be a little funky. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go here and do it. Make sure it saves. What's this Fallout thing? Fallout Anniversary Edition coming 2025. Anniversary Edition to Switch 2 port. What's the Anniversary Edition do though? Have they said anything? Are they doing anything to the game graphically, or is it just gonna be like a bundle or something? Have you read the Halo books? The things that Spartans can do are insane. Now remember, guys, there's a bit of a stream delay for YouTube because I've gone back to normal latency. So when that says 2.5 minutes, you actually have about 2 minutes left before we're gonna roll. What's just number for furnace? Hang on. How do I share a contact? The delay is crazy. Purple's so much better. I had to go back to normal. I'm trying to limit anything that could potentially cause people to not watch on YouTube, and the share contact. My wife's asking me for somebody's name. We're on a 30-second delay. It just usually shakes out to about 30 seconds. Yes. That's usually what it shakes out to be. Because by the time I say it and it goes through and gets to you and YouTube, you might be a little behind sometimes. Everything's... Oh, I've not been pausing the ads. I'm sorry. Halo Infinite definitely felt dated, just like Gears Reloaded. They need to modernize the gameplay. Look what Ninja Gaiden did with the look what not... Who the frick are you talking about? Look what NG did with The Last of Us 2. NG. Naughty Dog, ND. Yeah. I liked what they did with The Last of Us Part 1. Last of Us Part 1 remake. All right, we're in the last minute, y'all. We're in the last minute. Might be the first time in a while. I think every time we've done this, you guys have extended. This is gonna be it's gonna be the end of the streak. Naughty Gaiden. That's right. Gaiden. I'm sorry, Naughty Gaiden. Naughty Gaiden sounds very different. Very different. If viewers are like me, I bounce around and come back sometimes. Other times I watch someone else. Well, for sure. And that delay is just going to be inherently there because I'm going through an ingest server. There's always going to be a little bit of delay. So, final 10 seconds. All right. If you guys are not in the Discord, get in the Discord. Smash that like button. So that way we can end with 400 likes. Discord is available to all members, so you definitely want to be in there. Subs as well on Purple. That is a feature of being a supporter of the channel, is that you get into the Discord. You might also be able to get in there if you're on a gifted. That's not any different. So appreciate you guys and the strong support for today and the turnout. And tomorrow is going to be all on that Halo, waiting for them to do their thing. So tomorrow should be a fun time. All right? Take care, and I'll see you guys in the Discord.